normally I shy away from these
Yeah. Well, you said that to me originally.
sort of things.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to step outside the comfort zone.
Thank you.
That's the only way you grow.
That is true. I found that to be very true myself.
Wait, are we doing this thing right now?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, sometimes I just like to roll into it like very casually.
No, that's good. Yeah. Makes sense.
Pour myself.
Keeps it flowing organically.
Yeah, because I know when I originally reached out, you said that you were kind of shy and all that stuff. So I really
thinking I'm interesting enough to have me on here.
No, I'm honored. I was looking forward to you coming here probably more than anyone that I've done, and because being what I'd say a younger tattoo artist, I found that I love your work and all what you've been doing. So
thank you.
Yeah, it's an honor for me. Thank you.
Cool. Glad to be here.
So when did you start tattooing?
94.
94.
And I did my first tattoo the day my son was born.
So he came
just
out
born in the hospital. The day he was born, I went and did. I had been apprenticing and drawing some flash and sort of getting the ins and outs from a guy that was working on me.
Right.
And I went did my first my first tattoo on my thigh right here, which was a tiger lily.
So that was the one you did on yourself.
Yeah, it was terrible.
So the son's born.
The
baby's delivered.
Yeah, and I already been kind of learning along the way, the ins and outs, making needles.
But that was like the day you were kind of like set to do that, and nothing was going to stop you, even childbirth.
Yes.
You're like, this is what I'm going to do.
The guy asked me if I wanted to do it that day, and I was like, I think this is probably not a good day, but might be a good day.
Yeah.
How
am I going to miss this opportunity?
That and just, those two things, monumental times in my life, a son being born and my career being born in the same day.
Wow.
So
that's very interesting.
It was super cool. So when he turns 30, I'm 30 years. Every birthday that he goes it's cool.
So it's like an even number.
Yeah, it's a cool thing, and I love relating that to him because tattooing obviously provides for family. So
yeah,
that's a cool thing a cool date for them to fall on.
Yeah, it was like literally the birth and the birth.
Yes.
So how old is your son now?
He's gonna be 30. Okay. He's 29.
So you've been tattooing 29 years?
And I'm 49. So we're exactly 20 years apart.
Okay. So that you were 20 years old.
Minus a month and some change, or less than a month.
So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I had not the same situation, but the day that I got offered to be an apprentice, I also got the thing in the mail saying that I got accepted to go to a police academy.
Oh.
So I had to decide.
That's a different.
Yeah. I was like, so do I go to a police academy or do I become go to this real unknown
opposite end of the spectrum there?
Yeah. And also when it comes to security or this scary career where you're going to hang out with these artists, and the shop was in the back alleyway,
or get shot at for a living.
Yeah. So I was like,
that's crazy.
So I went to sleep and then I woke up and I said, fuck it, we're going.
Yeah. That's cool.
Never looked back.
I'd say that's the better choice.
I think it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it's not so.
Yeah. Especially nowadays, tattoo artists are viewed as pretty cool, but maybe the police sometimes not so much,
Yeah. Yeah, they can. I mean, there's good ones, but
of course.
Obviously, there's terrible ones.
Well, the same could be said about tattoo artists,
sure.
I guess, right?
Scumbags in every industry, I suppose.
I think that more of just a people thing, probably, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So where do you tattoo? Where are you from?
I am from right before Big Bear, California. I'd prefer not to say the city, but it's in a little rural, really high altitude place in between Running Springs and Big Bear, California, the San Bernardino Mountains. And private studio.
Yeah, because I've seen pictures on your Instagram, just from the background.
Yeah,
it seems like
little log cabin kind of thing.
Yeah, you're kind of out there.
Yeah, it's a small house. We couldn't really afford a house in suburbia, California. It's ridiculous.
Sure.
The average house there is $550, and that's for a piece of junk.
Yeah.
So,
I'm coming from the New York metro area, so it's kind of the same.
That's
same
even
kind
worse.
Of shit.
Yeah,
it might even be.
Yeah, it's expensive there, but we decided to not getting any younger, and that place is pretty cheap up there. So
yeah,
and the nature and just decompressing. What's crazy is that whole thing went down, closed the month that they locked down the world. It was the weirdest timing synchronicity thing with the universe. It was like, I'll take it.
Oh, that's when you
Yeah, man. It was we were looking for the house. We found the house, and then all the cases of, the thing came in, and then we're like, we closed 2 weeks before they locked it down.
So that's
we were
pretty cool.
moving during the lockdown.
So was that good in a way because you kind of had like your own little bunker during?
Took me out of the rat race, crazy chaos, and stuck me up in this high altitude mountain setting.
Yeah.
With it takes us 45 minutes to get groceries.
Oh, like that.
It's that isolated.
And so you live where you work too?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So you have like that. It's kind of like the Guy Aitchison had that, right?
Yeah, his is a separate, like on the same property, but yeah, mine's kind of included in the same. I would love to build a little separate one someday, when maybe if the economy gets better, but
sure.
Yeah. That's
pretty cool. Do you find that that's like better for your work, living kind of like where you work, or do you think that it's better to kind of be separate, like in your experience?
I think it has its pros and cons. Like the pros are the peace and, finding that, as I'm drinking a beer here, I'm on and off with that because I'm a very, very intense sine wave kind of a guy.
Yeah, I agree. Me too, I should say.
Yeah. So the pros are, it definitely, when I'm home, mostly I'm focused on health and doing those crazy 7-mile hikes at that 7,200 feet altitude. Mm-hmm. And then, but it does kind of isolate you to the point where it makes it a little bit more difficult when you go back into the world to deal with just people just all over the place and just, spirals in their eyes programmed by the media and just being parrots and just not knowing what direction they're going and just the government's great, and I just can't take that part of society. It's too much. It's like people aren't themselves. They're just programmed to behave and think a certain way, and it just drives me insane.
Like robots.
And I'm an empathetic guy, so it does take its toll on me, and I wind up doing that, but
sure.
But it, I keep it under control. I'm mostly healthy, so.
I agree. I'm very similar in that sense. Like I could find myself, drinking whiskey quite often, kind of like, whoop. Yeah, and then I could like catch my, I never like go off the deep end with that kind of stuff. I kind of keep it nice.
You're like, oh, time to stop.
But I agree because this is the first time I'm working alone here, and you see it's like a little bunker here. I mean, granted, there's stuff around me, but I spend a lot more time in my own mind. In this windowless room,
getting to know you.
Yeah, and it's kind of like been changing almost who I am. I think.
Yeah, isolation's important to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Because I was always working in shops, and I was always known as like a ball buster, fucking with people, joking with them, Yeah. And now that I'm here alone, I'm getting like more serious and like more. Yeah. Like something else. Like,
you don't have people to bounce your shenanigans off of. Yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, like, if that stencil's straight, or should I put more dark?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Because sometimes I would ask, and I was fortunate enough to work next to some really cool artists in New York, like Dennis Sivak and those guys that Love Machine, and they're like, super good. And I would ask, and sometimes I would ask, and they wouldn't even answer my question, but just in asking, I would like figure it out easier. So now being here alone, it's like I truly have to ask myself,
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, you think I should put like blue here? And he would be like, no. And then I'd be like, nah, fuck it, I'm going to put the blue, even though he just said he don't think so. Right. But I needed someone to like just tell me something, Right. So in here, I learned kind of like I just don't have that,
Right.
But I don't know that I hate it,
Yeah. Yeah, you really get to know yourself for sure.
It's just a different thing,
Yeah.
So... But yeah, and especially after like all the chaos of the last few years, I wanted to put, and I'm sure something similar to like what you did, kind of put yourself in a position where you're a little more like self-sufficient,
Yeah. So. And it's hard to work with others. I have social skill problems. I don't know. It's hard to tolerate people's nonsense, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe my definition of nonsense feel like, I don't know. It's hard to. I'm socially awkward sometimes, I have no filter.
Sure.
So there's a span there with the lockdowns that I just no filter.
Well, you could always trust someone with no filter. I'm from the Northeast, so it's like they say, forget the saying, but it's like people on the East are, what are they? They're not nice, but they're kind, and the people on the West Coast are kind, but they're not nice. Yeah. So like coming from like the New York metro area, like like even like my mom's boyfriend is like the type of guy who will like come in and be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And it's just like I like that.
To the point, yeah.
Yeah, tell me, fuck you, idiot.
And people are like, you can't do that to people, and I'm like, well, I mean, I don't mind when people do it to me. I might get a little bit, at first the ego will come in like, hey, but then I'm like, wait, they're right, the ability to objectively observe yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't really think it's a bad thing to have no filter.
Sure. Well, I mean, it's true, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you can't, my friend Sean Foy used to say, like, if I call you a bitch and you're offended, you must be a bitch, you know?
Right. Why? Because if you know you're not, then you should feel comfortable enough to be like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like going, well, you know, like,
right. Kind of like you said, though, sometimes you get a little defensive, but then you think about it maybe. But at least if you come back around, there was some awareness.
Yeah, yeah. That's how I function at home with my family, my wife.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we don't take things personally. Somebody's having a bad day and they get grumpy or whatever, you know, I'm grumpy or whatever, we know it's not to take it personal. You know, that's the problem with everything today is people take it as a personal instead, or, you know, maybe that person's having a bad day or,
yeah, and there's just that's just like reality, right? The ebbs and flows of life. So to like take someone's like ebb personally, it's like you're kind of doomed for like a pretty tumultuous existence. I can never say that word.
Yeah,
because you're just like people ebb and flow. So if you're taking
defense mode. Yeah,
because you're going to be in it anyway. Because no one's going to be like completely even keeled unless they're a serial killer. You know?
Yeah. The older I get, the less I give a shit.
Yeah.
About what people think. So.
Yeah, I think
they don't know me. You know, the online thing is the craziest thing. When that whole thing was going on with me, you know, giving my 2 cents about the whole thing going on, that was insane. Like just the parroting. It was just. I was like, wow, that was depressing.
Mm-hmm.
That was depressing.
But it's kind of interesting too because like you were doing that and you were being true and like that made me reach out to you. You know?
That's kind of how we got to know each other. Yeah.
Right. So there's like, it's not all like, that's not always just negative because like I even moved out here. One of my friends, Nolan Wheeler, I'm not sure if you know him, but he's a tattoo artist here too. And we kind of bonded over very similar things. And that's kind of what brought me out here originally and worked with him and some of my really good friends that shared similar ideas and stuff. Like we became more cool,
tighter.
You know? Yeah. So like, it's kind of cool. Like, you know, even in my personal life, like we shedded a lot of like friends, like, you know, like weird stuff.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Just over like political or like, you know, disagreements over like, you know, particular medical practices and stuff like that. And I think that it's a kind of like, I think now that like the dust is settling a little bit, like you realize how like bizarre that actually is.
Oh, it's still bizarre.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like, shh, don't say anything.
Yeah, but like how like I've even had people try to like kind of creep back into my life in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because I think they feel like a little, you know,
dumb.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I go back and forth between like kind of like, or kind of like I feel like almost sorry, you know, like because I've made mistakes in the past, you know.
Sure, and that I was saying that earlier when we first met up today that you have to have that sort of the empathy. You get frustrated and pissed off about the current state of things because it inhibits your movement and your quality of life because and then you have to have that empathy. Like people were scared.
Yeah.
They were scared, you know. You can't blame them for that. You can't like chastise them for like being consumed by fear. So
yeah,
I get it. I'm calmed down.
Yeah,
I've calmed down. I've calmed down a lot since then, and you know, but I maintained focus through there. Yeah, even during all that, you know, I was drinking a little heavy, but I still maintained focus. It was painting, and that's what I'm focused on now. Is just I want to do a gallery show, so I just been really like super hyper focused on pumping out all these triangle canvases and trying to get like 24 pieces together to do that'd be my first show in over 20 years of painting.
Oh wow.
So
and you do, and just from like my perspective, just viewing you online, like it does look like your output of painting is like extremely high.
Yeah.
Is that just something you prioritize? Do you find like your environment being kind of like isolated kind of
just obsessed, just being obsessed with it?
Because I don't know, and obviously online things could seem whatever, but I guess you're sitting here telling me that it appears to me that you're always painting.
Always painting.
Yeah.
If I'm really into a piece, I will eat, sleep, breathe that thing. Like, you know, I'm hyper focused on it, and it's just something I don't know. It's just that space you're in when you're painting or creating. It's like, you know, the connection to whatever that is.
And I almost feel like your style, like it almost makes me want to look, and I have, but I almost want to dive more sometimes into like something, it almost like along those lines. It almost seems very like, I don't want to say mind numbing, but like there's almost something therapeutic about like the like kind of shapes and repetition.
Repetitions, yeah, the geometry.
Yeah. And like I know in my small experience of like doing things like that, like people would say like, isn't that like, you know, that's so crazy and so like, but it almost seems like more.
Well, the patterns I think are more the meditative. I mean, the painting itself is meditative, but
Sure.
the patterns for sure
Yeah.
can be the repetition of, but the place that I get sucked into is the manipulation of the isometric graphs and how to warp them and change them and the perspective. And sometimes I just use them flat and, you know, manipulate them to the point where it shows such depth to them. That's where my main focus is, not so much on the pattern. I'll do patterns in certain, you know, surfaces and stuff, but most of it's trying to figure out how to manipulate the graph to a point where it's like, whoa, you know, it just pulls you right into that thing.
No, it's amazing. Where do you think you kind of first developed this style? Obviously, because it's so unique, you know, you don't see anything close to it.
It's a story that I told a long time ago. I was in a terrible car accident when I was, me and my son, I was 27, he was 7, and there was a snowstorm, and, you know, school got called off. So I had to go get him from school. And car accident happened. The dude was going too fast around a curve, and I was doing about 40. I was in a 4-wheel drive. He should not have been going that fast because he was in just a regular old car, not even front wheel drive. It was like an old Buick or something, and he went sideways. I was forced to T-bone him and wound up doing, I don't know, 4 or 5 spins and going off the side of a mountain and winding up looking at the sky, and the truck happened to be on resting on a pine tree, or I would have went further down. And it was all bent and crimped. And
was it after that tree? Was it like a far?
Oh yeah, but behind the truck, if you know, we would have went down even further. But both of us cracked our head on the windshield. He came up out of it was a lap belt in the front seat, and I didn't have my seatbelt on, so I hit the windshield in the corner and hit my head pretty hard. And then after that, it was just like hell. Brain damage, you know, brain injury, and it just turned into psychotic, crazy, you know, hallucinations and just, you know, night terrors and getting drugged through the medical industry with Paxil and just, you know, being told by a doctor. We could go down a whole long thing with that. The medical industry, I hate the medical industry. That's why this whole thing with the, you know, that thing, that lockdown thing, I have a disdain for the medical industry. Like,
so prior, because of this,
I got drugged through that, and then I had, you know, I was smoking and not treating myself well, and I got drugged through for an intestinal thing and brain damage, and every doctor that I encountered was an incompetent idiot.
Yeah.
Had no clue what they were doing. They're just a programmed idiot.
It's really interesting you say that, because I've always had that feeling even since I'm a kid. Like whenever I would go I almost have like a form of like, I guess you could call it like white coat syndrome. Yeah. And every time I would go to like a hospital,
disgusting.
It's like I consider myself to be like extremely empathetic towards people and their energy, and just hearing like the few times I've been in a hospital with like my grandparents passing or something, and they're like on the deathbed, and like the nurse comes in and starts talking about like, we just gave them this, that, and there's this whole list of stuff. And I'm like, dude, she's dying. Like, did you really need, like, it just like, it seems like this like inauthentic, like,
it's disgusting
business.
It's absolutely disgusting. It's, if I was to label it anything, and I'm not a religious guy, it's satanic.
Yeah, I've when I was I think 21, I went to the doctor because I was feeling very nervous. But at the time, it was very like complex emotions, and I didn't know what they were or how to deal with them. Like, so much so that I felt similar ones now, and I kind of just know how to like roll them off me, just, you know, with age and maturity or whatever. But the first thing the doctor did was, you know, talk to me for about 20 seconds, and he pulled out a pad and he wrote me a prescription for an antidepressant. Yeah. And thank God I had this friend, my friend Chris, who I actually just saw for the first time like last week, and in a long time. And he looked at me and said, they did the same thing to me, and I did this for a year or two. Yeah. He's like, throw those out right now. And me and him went to a bar, and I dumped the bottle down the sewer in front of the bar, and he gave me a high five. He's like, don't do that. Yeah. No one recommended the gym. No one recommended taking walks.
Nutrition, water. How much water are you drinking, sir?
Yeah. How much
you're
sleep
feeling
are you
crazy?
getting?
Here's this thing.
Yeah. Are you in alignment with what you enjoy?
Yeah.
Are you in a bad relationship?
Yeah.
Were you abused as a kid and you never talked about it? Like, there's like probably a million questions that you could ask somebody before you first do that.
They're not doctors.
Yeah.
They're disgusting. Like, and you know what? Like, it's just and there again, you have to have the empathy. Like, they're just, are they, well, you have to question that too. Are they intentionally being those kind of people, or are they just generationally raised to just think that way, and they're not even thinking about that kind of stuff.
It's like almost like systematically indoctrinated by like some form of program that, and they're just signing on to like with the promise of having like a career, a job or something, perhaps, right?
Trust the science.
Yeah. So you don't really know.
It's
and I think with that being said, there probably really is a great doctor out there, like the way we would see in our industry, who like stays real up with our
do no harm. They're doing the research. They're
at the forefront of understanding the new things. But they're not,
most of those go holistic, by the way.
Yeah.
Those that start off, and they really have their true intention is to help people. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, you can probably cure pretty much everything with food.
Sure.
And what you're putting into your body.
Well, if you think about that, even just like
fasting,
literally logically.
Yes.
Like you're
fasting. Cures cancer.
Yeah. I fast. I actually lost like 60 pounds. I started like a keto. I started carnivore first, and now I'm like keto more.
Yeah.
But I'm at the point now where I literally just eat to live.
Yes, not live to eat. Yeah, for sure.
I literally ate once yesterday, and I still didn't eat yet today. And I'll probably just go as long as I literally can. And when I'm hungry, I'll go buy like an avocado and eat it with my pocket knife.
Clear out the junk in the cells. Get them to autophagy and get them empty, and you can do pretty much what you want. You can you splurge once in a while and have some beers or whatever.
I think this changed my whole brain
in
chemistry.
And out.
Yeah. Well, Pete Terry's here. I don't know if you had it yet.
I haven't. I love Texas food. They got all the kind
barbecue.
Yeah, they got all kinds of food here. That's really good.
I think Pete Terry's is like the In-N-Out of
Texas. But now they got In-N-Out here, right? But
Pete Terry's is an Austin specific chain.
Okay.
And it's like there's only like 12 of them.
Yeah.
If you're into that shit, you got to try it before you go.
I just think it's bad to be militant either direction. Hardcore vegan, hardcore meat guy, hardcore. It's more moderation and moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it.
But
know yourself.
I
when
just
you're going
know what's
too far.
been working for me, and I've been doing like high protein keto, and then like sometimes and just extreme fasting.
Yeah.
And a lot of water, and like instead of eating breakfast, I'll have coffee, maybe 2 coffees, black or something, and then sometimes I'll put cream in it to get fat.
Mm-hmm.
Just
so you don't get too. Coffee's kind of abrasive.
Yeah,
so.
I'll get like someone was describing to me as like fat fasting.
Yeah.
Or I'll put like MCT oil, like some things to give my body some fuel for my brain.
Yeah, you're not just tweaking on caffeine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just go as long as I can, and you get into these rhythms where
it
I
feels
don't
good.
even want to eat. It feels great.
Yeah, it does. You're like just hyper focused.
And I've been doing the cold showers and all that stuff too.
Cold showers are good. Ice baths.
I don't do that yet because I don't really have like
that hurts.
You do it?
I get into them, not frequently, but when I'm into them and I'm doing them more than 3 or 4 days in a row, you can tell it just really kills the procrastinator.
Mm-hmm.
That person that's like, I'll do that later.
Yeah.
When you beat your mind into submission until you're getting in there.
Yeah.
Then it starts like losing its power, and then you start becoming more in the driver's seat instead of your mind being in the driver's seat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly believe, because I changed my whole diet to be that clean, and I also was doing the microdosing with the mushrooms and all that together. I genuinely believe I'm almost like a completely different person. Yeah. Like I think my cells like almost like fully like
for sure
regened.
Right. Right. There's life hacks for sure. Like I say, I keep pointing at this beer, but it counters that stuff. You can do this stuff if you're mainly doing that stuff, So you can splurge once in a while. I know alcohol is kind of a lower frequency, but sometimes I want to be on a lower frequency. I don't want to be like, constantly. Yeah. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. Some of the best music ever was written by people on very low frequencies.
Yeah. You can get loose and stuff, but the microdosing is actually. Heavy dosing is. I had from that brain injury that I just talked about.
Yeah.
I eventually developed kind of a opiate habit way back, 10 years ago. I was trying to self-medicate, trying to figure out like, I just want to numb my, psilocybin crushed that.
Yeah, and in heavy dosing.
Yeah, well, I just tried it. I never tripped before. I was like 36 years old, and I had that problem.
Sure.
And my wife, she was researching because she didn't. I was a highly functioning opiate addict, at the time, and she went online and researched it and kind of steered me towards that. And man, I took 2 grams of, I don't know what they were. They were at the time was really strong, and just wham, it just crushed. Just completely annihilated
so
that
2
habit.
grams was enough to.
Oh, it was crazy, man. I was seeing aliens. It was
Damn.
raining upside down.
Yeah.
I was laying in the bed, and it goes further than that. I wound up throwing up. I was resisting at first, pounding on the cabinets, looking at the granite, eyeballs looking up at me, and I'm like, oh, like freaking out. It was very scary because I couldn't control it, and that was the whole problem, was me trying to control everything. And the mushroom trip it just showed me like, nope, you're not in control at all.
It's like you surrendered control.
Oh, I was like, bleh, and then it was the most beautiful thing.
So the actual trip you enjoyed.
Well, not the first part.
Okay.
It was dark at first because the ego was dying.
You had to get through
the
this.
ego's struggling, like, oh no, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're
Yeah.
gonna die,
Yeah.
And I thought I was dying, and then the granite's looking at me, and the cabinets, I was smacking the cabinet, like the counter, like banging on the counter.
You're like trying to hold on.
Yeah, I was banging on the counter, make
Yeah.
it stop, make
Yeah.
it stop. And wife's like, relax. And I'm like, I can't, it won't stop, because it just kept coming in waves.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, banging on the cabinets, the counters were coming, it was just dark. And once I threw up, it was just like the most, I was like, wow.
It's almost like you purged.
Alien fingers playing a brain with a pipe organ in the background with nebulas, and that's it's still distinct. That first trip in my mind, it was super distinct.
Now,
I can still see it perfectly clear.
Now, do you think that played a role in any of the development of your art style going forward?
For sure, the brain injury started the hallucinations just naturally. Some people like theorized. I had a couple of close tattoo buddies that were like, maybe you have they said a DMT leak in your pineal gland. You rocked your head so
That's
hard.
so interesting.
But that's just a theory. Nobody
Yeah.
know. I don't know if science, because science is, can be corrupted. But it has its uses, right?
Yeah. No, science
It's
is
definitely used as a
absolute, no.
weapon, and it's also can be used for good, for measurement. But yeah, they said maybe you have a DMT leak. I've read that that's possible somewhere, and I'm like, I mean, maybe.
Well, they say it's in.
And I never done psychedelics at that point.
It's in every being.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like, because I've never tripped on anything to this
Really?
day in my life,
Oh.
but everyone I talk to that has thinks that I have. So it's
Well,
like,
if you're microdosing, technically.
yes, but I mean, I never did like a heroic dose. Of
Right, like yours is, what do they say, imperceivable?
Yeah.
It's just, you can feel
But I've been like that since I'm a kid. Like, I always felt like I would sit at the adults table when I was 7. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like I always felt like more on like a different wavelength.
Yeah.
In a way. And like that I would always attract people that do this stuff and they think that I do, and I would be able to have like a full conversation about it.
Yeah.
But I even like artistically maybe tap into shit like that, but I've never
Never done it.
Well, it's just interesting because you talk about this leak and
maybe you have one
like,
naturally.
yeah,
Or
I mean,
produce more.
I did have a pipe fall on my head when I was a kid.
There you go.
Me and my friend put a pipe up a tree, like like a fence, that pole on
Yeah,
top. And we used to like skateboard and grind that when we were
Yeah.
kids and stuff. And we were like maybe 10, and I had it up a tree, and we were climbing the pipe, and I was under it, and it fell so hard.
Donk. Was somebody on it?
Yeah, and it just bang.
You're underneath it.
Underneath it, pipe
Yeah,
falls. I mean, I
head
remember like
injuries.
tasting metal. Almost.
Yeah,
like it's hard to explain.
Yeah, head injuries can do some weird stuff.
Yeah, and you hear about that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of, I wasn't really doing anything crazy before that thing.
Right.
Getting cracked on the head
Mm-hmm.
can cause that savant syndrome, as they say. I guess that's what the term they use.
Yeah.
Like a guy that dives in a pool and cracks his head, and now he's ripping out some Beethoven and
Yes.
Mozart.
You know about that guy who drew New York City from a helicopter?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like that, but before I got hit in the head, I wasn't doing geometry. I wasn't doing any of that psychedelic stuff. And then I started to do that psychedelic stuff, and then I call that the post-accident phase of my career, and then throw in the psychedelics, and it just went nuts.
So what were you doing before that? Like what kind of art? Because you were tattooing.
Just street shop.
Okay.
I started off in a street shop where I was like, man, it was illegal to tattoo in South Carolina. At the shop I was at was 10 miles from the border.
Oh, so you were in South Carolina?
No, I was in North Carolina.
Oh.
So it's illegal in South Carolina, and we're like 10 miles from that border.
Oh.
So I come in on a Saturday morning, and there's, I don't know, 30 people in the parking lot waiting to get tattooed.
You were dipping from both states.
Yeah, everybody's like, whoa, let's go get tattooed in North Carolina, because it's right there.
So is that where you were raised?
Cranking out script and, flash and just tattooing. I think average day for me would be on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday would be 30 tattoos a day.
Yeah, wow.
For years.
Just
that's where I got my technical ability to saturate and
which is so important.
Clean lines and stuff like that. That's where that part came from, and then I started getting interested in Guy Atchison, Aaron Kane. They started pumping out flash back in the early. Before I even started, Guy was doing flash back then, and I was like, whoa, that stuff's crazy. I was interested in that bio stuff.
And like Paul Booth was probably at the time kind of.
Paul Booth was huge.
Yeah.
Loved doing Paul Booth's flash, the black and gray stuff. H.R. Geiger, however you pronounce that.
But I think I know that I'm from New Jersey, and he was originally from New Jersey.
Yeah.
And I think tattooing was illegal in New York at that same time.
Yeah.
So like I think they had a similar situation over there in like New Jersey. I heard that like people were leaving New York City to get, and I met a guy at my first tattoo shop that had boxing gloves on his forearm that Paul did like as an apprentice.
Yeah.
And it was just like, for me, like I've seen, been around, probably like yourself, a million conventions.
Yeah, just seeing him work, it was like spooky, man. I was like scared to even talk to him,
Oh, yeah, well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we used to have a joke in New York.
I want to skull my Paul, but I'm not going to talk to him. It's kind of scary.
We had a joke in New York whenever it was lightning. My friend would look at me and say, Paul must be back in town.
Yeah, he's had that persona, and he still does,
It's so interesting. Yeah. But seeing one of his original apprentice tattoos for me was like more epic.
Yeah.
Like this shit tattoo than seeing like the most world-class like back piece.
All this crazy crazy demon
just like super cool to me,
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too. He's
like
nice
super soft-spoken.
Guy.
Sure.
Really nice guy. And Guy Atchison's probably my biggest influence. And Aaron Kane. I didn't really get to hang around Aaron or see a lot of his stuff because he's a little more, what do you call that? What's the word?
Elusive?
That's the word. Those guys are the flow masters. They introduced the flow into tattooing, and
like the S flow.
Yeah, the S flow, and just finding that stream, that muscle structure, and just using the bones and the veins.
Sure.
And,
yeah, and I feel like the guys who I learned from, like lucky enough that they were like, those were the guys that they looked to, and they taught me this history. And, was it the guy's book? Was it like reinventing the?
Yeah, and he had the ones before graphic language for the tattoo artists, and I caught his seminar before reinventing, way back in like '98 in Miami. It was like the graphic language for the tattoo artist. It was like 2 books, I think he got. But he's a teacher. He likes to teach.
It's super cool.
That's his jam.
And obviously I was too young to be, I'm in middle school or at that time or whatever. But I appreciate the history and was around guys who made sure that I, understood that kind of stuff, But the thing for me, the first thing that was given to me that really changed my life was the artist Keith Caramello. I don't know if you know him. He was in New York, familiar. And he had the DVDs Keeping It Real.
That sounds familiar. I know that name.
Yeah, no, he was like he was at the time like into teaching, and I actually think he had the first tattoo podcast, but he's all these technical difficulties. All right.
They happen. Well, shit. Yeah. Excrement occurs.
You know what? Adversity creates what is it? Smooth seas don't make good sailors.
No, yeah, exactly. I like to be uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is I don't know, it's a good way to grow.
I agree. I actually find sometimes at this point in my life when I'm uncomfortable, I'm like more comfortable.
Yeah.
Which is like almost like a paradox.
makes life easier.
Yeah.
Like when you're healthy and you're doing the right thing, it's the harder path, but it definitely life is easier when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Even though it's difficult to kind of stay on that path. It's easier just to be lazy and, you know, eat burgers and drink beer or whatever. But it definitely makes you grow when you just make tough decisions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah.
Hold on, let me just make sure this one's on too. 'Cause now it makes So yeah.
It's all good.
Fucking camera.
Damn equipment, technology.
Well, it's like the paradox for me with technology because I love it and I hate it.
Oh, we can go down that road if you want.
Yeah,
technology's.
Yeah.
It can be the devil.
But it's what I use to make. You were mentioning before we started recording, my lighting and all that stuff. So using it.
Shall we go down the AI path?
We could. We can go down any path you'd like.
Technology is useful. It's a tool. I think when it goes beyond the tool and it's a means to an end, you know, if you're having an AI thing do this interview and just take a picture of me and just type in the stuff and letting it do all the, instead of us physically sitting here and having the conversation back and forth, that's dumb.
Right.
You know, and I think the whole AI thing's it's a Ponzi scheme. They're trying to scare everybody with it. And
yeah. I think sometimes there's a bigger agenda with the AI stuff, and it's actually just used to like mine like human data.
It's that I think it's a climate change. It's the same kind of scam. It's going to take over the world. You need this AI to protect you from this AI, and they're going to start charging you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think AI can only do what it's told to do.
Yeah, it's drawing.
It doesn't have a consciousness. It doesn't have an ego. It's not going to go. Humans are. I mean, maybe I guess humans are seen as an obstacle, but if it's programmed not to harm humans, it's not going to harm humans.
Right.
It's not going to go. Hey, we're going to break this protocol. I mean, it's a programmed thing. You can't break a protocol and go do what it's not programmed to do. So. Right.
Well, yeah, it's just collecting data and regurgitating the data that it's collecting.
Exactly.
But the thing is, I guess after such a long period of time, will it start to then predict the data that it doesn't have based on the data it does?
I don't know.
I know, though, like on a side note, when it comes artistically, it doesn't threaten me at all.
No. I mean, right now I don't feel that unless somebody that I don't know takes my shit and feeds it into an AI.
Yeah.
Right now, AI can't touch me.
Yeah.
It doesn't know how to predict what I'm going to do because it's my stuff is not necessarily like I don't have any copycats going on really that can really mimic my stuff. So if there's a bunch of humans that can't do it, I'm pretty sure that AI can't collect any data to do my stuff right now. So
no, well, and I guess that's kind of what I'm saying is and for me, I feel like it's the whole collection. Yeah, like my art.
But AI is only the best of humanity.
Sure. But for me, like when you get a tattoo from me, right? Like you're getting like the experience with me, like you know, my art. But you're also getting like you were saying before that I'm easy to speak to, or maybe like so some people might even enjoy that aspect.
It cannot imitate you.
For me, I feel like it's that.
That's what I mean. I think humans get too freaked out. They're like, "What? You think a computer can imitate you? Like you're not unique enough to." Yeah, exactly. People don't have enough confidence in themselves.
Exactly. Yeah.
They just feel lost in the sea of people, and they just So.
Well, these are the same aforementioned robots potentially, right?
Yeah.
So you're not threatened by it. I'm not threatened by it. I don't know.
I'm not going to use it.
You know, my friend Sean Foy. He's a great. He's a very
I saw the podcast.
He's not threatened by it. You know what I mean? These are unique characters who.
Like, hey. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, just unique people, unique characters.
Yeah, don't be threatened by AI. Yeah, if you're threatened by AI, you maybe should do some inner work.
Maybe you need that macro.
Yeah, I mess with it, you know. I like to see what it's gonna.
Me too.
Oh, that's cool, you know. Like,
me too.
And maybe just like anything else, when I look through Giger books or Escher books or whatever, I tell the AI what to see, and then I wouldn't have thought of that color palette. Oh, that's a cool way to, and
that's awesome.
And humans do that anyway, so I don't know why people are so.
For me, it's no different than going out and I just was at the Met in New York, and I got like a bunch of photos of paintings just for the colorway. Yeah. And so what would be the difference if I'm filtering through a museum floor, finding cool color palettes from old masters, or I'm on an AI program finding the same?
Let me retract. I don't I'm not going to use AI to straight up design something for me, because it actually isn't capable.
Yeah.
It cannot. I've even tried to like tell it what to do, and it's like it turns into this wonky, weird, like that doesn't make any sense.
Wonky as fuck.
Yeah, and it's I'm not going to use it in the way where it's gonna. I do see some accounts.
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't name them
Yeah,
specifically.
I know the accounts.
Yeah. And they straight up just design tattoos on AI.
Yeah.
So then you come to this pivotal point in tattooing where you got technicians, because if you know, or you're actually like creating and designing and drawing, is the difference between a technician and an artist that's creating raw from, I mean, I'm not completely original, and I've always stated this in my career that nothing really truly is. You can appear to be original by the way you put the pieces of the puzzle together. All the stuff that you've taken in, Escher, Geiger, all the reference online.
You're a compilation of what you've experienced.
It's the way you arrange the puzzle that makes, that's new. Not really. I mean, it's just a bunch of pieces of a puzzle that appear to be original.
Which actually I've struggled with that same thought, because like sometimes I've looked at my own like catalog of work and felt like maybe I was using a bunch of tricks. And
well, it is tricks.
Yeah,
it's all tricks. So how you use the tricks, puzzle pieces.
But then it
tricks.
makes me question if I should be exploring deeper to like void myself of these tricks. But that might just be like the inner dialogue of an artist, right? Like constantly in some tortured, almost like suffering state, as like the Buddha would almost say.
Right, the ascetic.
Like
you're starving yourself, like.
Yeah, like am I just putting black and then a bright color behind it a lot in spots, and it's impressive because it pops because there's like a strong contrast or whatever, or is that like authentically my art deeply in my soul, or is that me just like exploiting a trick that like has kind of been had? Like, these are things I wrestle with personally.
But I think that's the artist though, the ability to take all those different is that thing off?
Yep.
Dang it.
Yeah, there's something wrong with that. I don't like it. Sorry about the 100 technical difficulties.
That's okay.
We are live.
All right.
It's all right. Like I said, we roll with the punches.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, excrement occurs. I'm going to make a shirt of that. Coming soon.
I'll buy it.
I think we were talking about what defines an artist, sort of.
Kind of, yeah. You have a better memory than me, I think.
Too much tricks.
Tricks. Yep.
Tricks versus am I just a bag of tricks kind of thing?
Yeah.
Isn't that what defines an artist? Is how well you, like I was saying, put those pieces of the puzzle together and arrange them like an orchestra.
I guess so. Sometimes I'm like I feel like, and I probably speak for probably a lot of artists with the like feeling maybe some form of imposter syndrome, like.
I wouldn't say that. I would say just the different levels of observational skills and how far you want to push, how much you pay attention to lighting and the way it strikes an object, or like say for traditional artists, they feel more comfortable just keeping it simple and they just enjoy being in that space, so it's they're still artists. I think I've made the statement, there's technicians and there's artists, but I mean really who can define what an artist is, really?
Yeah, it's almost like trying to define like love, right?
Unless you're just straight up ripping someone off and just tattooing exactly what they did, then you're just a copy machine.
Right. But that's, I think, maybe what makes tattooing so unique compared to maybe other art forms.
Sure.
Because being good technically is actually like more important than maybe for a painter.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, like it's literally
you can't just slap more paint over it.
Yeah, or you can't just like
you're committed.
Yeah.
You have to be decisive when you're doing something.
Unless you're going to do something loose and painterly, but you still need to do that in a technically great way.
Yeah, in a decisive way. Like can't get too many layers on tattooing. Maybe 2-3 max.
Right.
Before it starts. If you go too dark, you can't take that back.
Right. It's interesting because I people that would say like, oh, when you do this realism, like the layery thing, like I actually try to nowadays take a traditional approach to that.
Yes.
So instead of like layering over something, like I've seen some tattoo artists even giving seminars, like how they underpaint, and I'm like, why? Why don't you just hit the tone once? You know?
Right. Just figure it out the first time.
Because it is a tattoo.
Right.
You're not painting. Like.
Right.
So why are you like putting a little green under the flesh? Like just mix it into the flesh and bang it
And make that color.
yeah.
Just maybe not sure, or their idea of what that tone should be might change. I don't know.
Because I was fortunate enough, I flew out to Ukraine to get my arm tattooed from Dmitry Samohin.
Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah, and watching him tattoo was like, the guy wasn't asking 0 questions.
Yeah.
It was just like,
yeah,
like he knew what he wanted to do,
Yeah.
and he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for
he
sure.
knows fucking what he's doing, and that like changed my life.
He has the plan, and that's the way it's going.
And I almost wonder if it's like cultural in a weird way. Like,
I think we have the first world problems here.
Yeah.
Third world problems there. You know, those guys
mm-hmm.
have nothing to do but to think about their art instead of like being bombarded by political issues and you know, stuff that really doesn't matter. You know?
I agree. Yeah.
I don't want to get too political here, but you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, we don't want to deter people from watching.
I don't give a fuck.
Might get offended. Yeah, that's just.
Yeah.
It's good.
I agree, though. I think that like people there just have no choice but to like, you know. Also, I think it's like, hey, maybe like I watched this dude make his palette from primary bottles of Eternal ink.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It's almost like
that's
cool.
admirable. That's hard to do.
It was pretty cool.
It was like red, blue, and yellow.
Yeah.
Just boom.
And like, you
mixing some black and some white.
Yeah,
and
I seen it, and it's almost like because maybe at one point, maybe in his life or career, like it wasn't like
that's all he had.
Yeah.
He didn't have like a 200 set color of ink.
And that's what's interesting, and I think like sometimes like spoiled people here don't realize how good life is.
Yeah, they don't.
Even on a bad day.
I would say that's the number one problem in the United States is gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can dial up people in certain states and get weed.
Yeah.
You can dial and get your Grubhub and get your Postmates, and you don't have to do anything.
Sure.
So.
I engaged in all those things probably today.
Yeah.
But I also understand, and I've traveled enough to know that that's just a literal luxury.
Sure.
That I'm using, and there's people in the world. Like my friend, I don't know if you're familiar with the artist Sivak, Dan is amazing realism tattoo.
Yeah.
He's from Ukraine also, and he told me this story where he waited online to go to an abandoned school bus to play Nintendo when he was a kid.
Exactly.
And some older guy was selling 30 minutes of Nintendo, and they would wait in like a junkyard.
Yeah.
Because it was like
stuff like that.
And it's like, but I like as a kid like had Nintendo and Sega.
Your phone in your hand.
Yeah, and all that shit.
Yeah.
But like I hear stories from guys like that, and I understand how great things were. Yeah. Even when it was bad.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm sure we all have problems and things and divorce and whatever.
Sure.
But it's still good.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah.
Compared to like, you know, living in Africa.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. We definitely have a ungratefulness problem in this country. It's pretty sad.
Yeah. So anyway, defining an artist.
Yeah, defining an artist. You can't do it. You can't define an artist because, I don't know. There's no something good.
Yeah. Oh
okay,
yeah.
Good.
Just because
Just the monitor's off.
The monitor's off. We're good, but there's so many fucking problems with these things. You know what I need? I keep saying I need a kid here to like run around and fix all this shit. But they'll come. They'll come. The right kid.
I guess throwing paint on didn't Jackson Pollock do that? Wasn't he a great crazy portrait guy?
Was he the dude who suspended and did that and shit?
I don't know, but I know I think my history's right if I remember correctly, or I don't know if I'm misinformed, but he was a really talented artist, and then he went to that splashing crazy, you know, and that whole world is, you know, it's defined by its who purchases it. It's just kind of a society that's, there's a line and looks like somebody puked on the canvas. Oh, it's worth $50 million.
Yeah.
I don't know if I believe that's art. That's just like that's just political weird structure to society that's
Yeah.
look, I have $50 million to spend on shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I see that with like even like all things like that, like high fashion or anything like along those lines. It almost becomes like an exclusivity.
Yeah.
And someone creates the exclusiveness, and then someone else is there to consume it.
Right.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that like what is that? Yeah, like there's still like this human maybe yearning.
That programmable part of the human brain.
Is that just ego?
It's the it's the most programmable thing ever. To it's a status symbol. Cars.
But you see that throughout history. That's not a new idea.
No.
In fact, that was probably even more prevalent in like.
Sure, I got the best cave.
Yeah, exactly.
I got the good cave.
Right, or I wear purple. But
but then that cave made sense because it's the most protected.
Sure.
You can. It's functional. It's practical.
Yeah.
Like now, it's just like crap.
You almost wonder if that idea comes from like an evolutionary trait.
Probably, yeah. That's hardwired into us.
Like the cave.
Yeah.
Because back then it was like status to have the most protection, most cover from rain, and I'm not going to get eaten by a fucking jaguar tonight.
But that was true.
Yeah.
But now, if you own this, you're this, and
I could
that's
drive
not true
faster,
because what you own.
and my shoes make me look like I walk nicer.
Right.
But I wonder if it stems from that. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean the desire to have that status because it attracts the stronger mate or whatever. But I mean, even shoes are a scam.
Yeah. Well, technically, you should be like walking barefoot, right?
Barefoot, and your feet should be splayed, not bound up.
Yeah.
Like pointed into a thing. It ruins your bone structure. And causes
probably
bunions
knee injuries and all kinds of
yeah,
shit.
you probably get tendons.
Probably
stuff
extends all the way up to your fucking neck.
to your back, to people having back problems, and
Yeah.
and that's another scam. It's like this scam on top of scam on top of scam. Not to be negative, but
No,
it's true.
well, sometimes reality is not positive.
No.
Actually, that's like my problem sometimes with like toxic positivity.
Yes.
Reality's not positive.
No.
You can have a little dog and a kid in Florida, and an alligator can eat it.
It's harsh. It can be harsh.
But that's real. That's
Yes.
like nature.
Yes.
That's not positive.
Right.
It's not positive. I mean, you know what, though? It is positive for the alligator scoring a meal.
Sure. It's like, got that nice little Jack Russell Terrier.
So when I first moved to my house here in Texas, we had a bird nest in our like exterior foyer. And when I was staying here, I saw one of the birds fell. And I was in my car, and it was on the ground,
Mouth open, like
but a little baby, like
Yeah, yeah.
no
No
feathers,
getting
just.
it's like,
And I was like, I don't like as like an empathetic person. I'm like, am I supposed to like take this to a bird sanctuary right now?
right.
But I was also like gonna meet a friend at a brewery, so I'm sitting there like, so then
Like,
I just
let nature take its course.
yeah. So I made this decision to be like, nature, I didn't put the bird there.
No, you didn't.
And when I came home, I thought I was going to see the bird dead. But when I came home, the bird was gone. Now I'm positive it didn't learn to fly after it was.
Something got it.
Yeah.
It fed something else.
But something else was fucking
Stoked.
scored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stoked.
So
I
some
get- yeah, I
snake
get
or
that.
some vulture after it died, whatever it was, scored. So what I'm saying is like, I guess you could say that nature isn't always positive, but it kind of is in a way, and it just happens as it should.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't see the correlation there. They're like, wait, something else got fed.
Yeah. And that's a good thing.
If I didn't step in. Definitely too much nurture over nature these days,
Yeah.
especially in this country. It's like just,
Sure.
it's,
But
it's,
the good thing about it, in my opinion, and where I find hope, is that nature has a really great way of correcting itself.
it will eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
I saw that quote today, and I forget who said it. It was more like, we don't know what weapons will be used to fight World War III, but World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones.
I've seen that one, yeah.
Yeah, I think Tulsi Gabbard shared it today.
Yeah, and I think what's going on, and a lot of people don't realize right now, is like World War III is going down right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not with bombs and tanks and guns.
No, it's with like media.
It's social media. It's
Yeah.
propaganda, like programming people to think, it's pandemic. Oh,
Yeah.
let's
Well,
run and hide and
like,
strap our face up with masks.
if we look at history, war was once fought lined up with muskets and bayonets, and then
charging each other.
and then it became like more whatever, and now it might almost be just to like, let's infiltrate a country slowly from the inside.
Well, there's a Russian dude that said that where America can be taken without firing a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
And it is.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what's happening right now. Schools are infiltrated. everywhere, and then I constantly get called, "You're a conspiracy theorist."
Yeah.
No, I'm a pattern recognitionist.
Yeah. Well, sometimes I think the term conspiracy theorist is thrown around a little bit too loosely.
Yep.
And it's used to, like, especially in a world where we spend a lot of time talking about shame, fat shaming. So can't you say that you're being conspiracy shamed almost? Because you have a thought that's different from what someone said should be the mainstream thought. By that logic, you're being shamed for sharing your true thoughts.
Yeah, but what's crazy is that's how society grows, is from the people that sit on the sidelines and are observing and are pointing out, like, hey, that doesn't make any sense. Hey, that's not right. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Instead of being the one that's in there like, okay, I'll do what you tell me. Like,
and I guess that's always been the case.
Yeah.
Right?
That's always the case.
Yeah.
The smarter animal sits back and observes, not just goes with the herd. The herd,
right?
Somebody's gonna get plucked out of that herd,
and that's
eaten.
The natural evolution of things, really, right?
I'm not getting plucked out and eaten.
I ain't getting plucked out either, dog.
No, I'm just sitting back. I'm gonna hide in the trees and watch and see what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of interesting if you think about it.
Like the whole gun thing.
Yeah.
Let's get rid of the guns.
Yeah.
Okay. That doesn't make any sense.
It actually, logically, if you start adding it up, it makes zero sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Guns are the problem. No, mental illness is the problem.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
You had a bunch of deadbeat parents that don't raise their kids right, that just turning them loose into government schools and not having, what do they get, like 15 minutes, hour max with their kids a day?
Yeah.
And they're just getting pumped full of, have no idea what they're learning in school. So that's you got a generation of not a place of empathy. They're idiots. They're naive. They're ignorant. They're just,
Absolutely.
So.
I mean, even if you just look at the purity, like, of having a firearm as protection, like, if I'm sleeping in my house, like, I have a firearm, I can protect my family, my assets, my life, or I can just not have one, and then I can't. Like, literally at its most basic form.
Yeah, we can just look at Germany.
Yeah. Or the Ukraine.
What happened with Germany? They took all the guns.
Yeah. Or was it Australia?
Yeah, they're doing all right, but Germany's a good example of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
The gun thing is.
So anyway, let's back it up all the way to before.
Okay.
You were talking about how you had the head injury, right?
Oh, head injury.
And then you because of that, you had some visions, and then you started developing your thing, and then you were saying later on in your career you developed an opiate addiction.
Opiate addiction from the brain injury, yeah.
So then
divorce. I went through a divorce that was nasty.
Okay.
And then, the opiates were kind of like, oh, this is great.
Where were you when you had this accident? Was this in North Carolina?
Yeah, I was in North Carolina. It was a snowstorm.
So you said that you were tattooing there. So how long did you tattoo in that street shop environment?
That was a 10-year period.
So from the first 10 years of your career.
Or 7-ish.
When did you become Mechmaster Mike? Like, when did you...
You know what? That's funny. That's a funny name because a client gave that to me in an email. He just straight up, that's what he called me. I was like, that's funny. Mechmaster Mike. Sounds like a visual DJ.
Was that pre-Instagram?
Yeah, it was. It was MySpace.
Okay.
That's way back.
I had it.
Yeah.
That was my first.
He said that, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take that.
Yeah.
He calls me that. I'm going to refer to myself as that, just for fun,
Yeah.
It just sounded like a DJ kind of name, and I don't know, it just sounded funny.
So did you start doing this style, you think, were you in North Carolina still?
I was, yeah. I was doing, it's after I cracked my head.
Like right away?
Yeah.
After you cracked your head?
I was seeing stuff like just...
And you just started doing this in your paintings first? Or
I was just vomiting from the visuals and just seeing...
Like that?
Seeing shadow people, and just, I'd be trying to sleep and insomnia.
Wow,
I wouldn't,
like that?
I wouldn't sleep. I definitely got... I went to the hospital the day after because I thought it was fine, and I went to sleep with a concussion, and then went to the hospital the next day, and they're like, oh, you should never, ever go to sleep after a major brain concussion. You could die. And I'm like, you need to come in and see if you got an aneurysm or, some kind of bleed. And I went, and they're like, dude, you have a major concussion.
Yeah.
So that was that. And then, but that's what was causing all the, I had a rust colored wall, like terracotta color. And I had one of those, I don't know if you ever seen those banker office lamps that are like green, like cylindrical shades. You see them in like movies and stuff where it has the pull chain. So I had one of those downstairs, and the green light was shining up that wall. Man, it looked like green mold growing up the wall. Like, this is no drugs.
Do you still have that?
I can probably tap into that, or like lay down and calm myself or meditate, and I can pull it back up. But as my brain tissue or whatever healed over the years, it's kind of went away. But
so how long did that last, where you were seeing it
years,
that vividly? Like
years.
Wow.
like a decade.
So you're still drawing from that for your art currently, you would say?
No, I would say after all those years of like constructing, I mean, when I first started doing the geometry, it was more on a like the Guy Aitchison, Aaron Kane flow. It was curved.
Okay,
It wasn't necessarily put to an isometric graph. I didn't even discover the grid till a decade later. I can't remember the time period, but it was just slightly before psychedelics, and then I found that graph, and then, dude, I did the psychedelics, and it was like, whoa, all that stuff that happened from the accident started making sense, as far as like, just everything just made sense. And a lot of people say that when they first find psychedelics,
Yeah.
life just makes sense.
So from the period where you have the accident, like, you're still working at a street shop at that time?
No, I had actually a bad partnership go bad where I had a street shop. I worked in a street shop, then I split from there and went and opened a shop with a guy that I got to know working in street shops, and that partnership went bad from who knows what, relationship issues with wives and stuff like that, just typical, reasons why partnerships go bad. And then I just started working built a private studio.
Okay.
And then,
so you're already at this. So I guess what I'm asking is, like, was there a buffer between going back to work from that accident?
Oh, immediately.
Like, you went right back?
Yeah.
But do you see these visions manifesting in your work instantly? Like, what's the time frame on that?
That's hard to pinpoint. That's really hard to, like.
So that was like a slow onset.
Yeah, it was a slow, like, I think I was like really getting into graffiti at the time.
Did you do graffiti?
I didn't. I never used the aerosol can to this day.
I asked because I love that shit.
I've never touched an aerosol. I mean, I've played with aerosol cans, but never been around that culture or like hung out with those kind of guys. But there was a kid coming into the street shop that I owned at the time that was doing a lot of graffiti, kind of show me Dimes work from Germany. I don't know if anybody's heard of that.
I don't know.
He's an old school. He's been doing it for like.
There's a really cool one from New Jersey named Rhyme.
Yeah. So I had been intaking that. So maybe that coupled with the accident, just like sent me down that path. And I also was raised with an engineer not raised, but my childhood when I was real little, my dad was an engineer, so that could.
Do you think that's where, like, the graph?
Yeah, the computer board stuff.
Yeah.
And then I can go down a whole path with that, where LSD, that one in particular, when you take that one, it like everything looks like you're in a simulation. And it's not just myself that gets those. I mean, there's plenty of instances where people that have tried that or have indulged in that get the same kind of, they relate to it. They're like, oh, I've seen that. I'm like, so maybe it is a simulation. I don't know. Like, you can see it in the walls. It's on the ceiling. You can see it in the air. Sorry. You can see it in the air. It's, I don't know, almost like being.
Like the flow of life or something.
Life is breathing that stuff. And it's like it's just on everything. Skin textures.
So that's where you feel like you pull.
Yeah.
So it was a combination of the head injury plus things like LSD.
Yeah, and a little bit of my youth. My dad used to sit me down when I was like 6.
Oh, and you're drawing at like a drafting
No,
board?
he'd give me like old computer boards and some clippers and wire strippers and like, here, go have fun. Well, he's over there like in his
like very like circuitry almost.
Yeah,
So it's amazing because I feel like I'm getting the idea that it's not just like one specific thing, but like obviously like, and like all people, like a culmination of, like you said, head injury, psychedelics,
right,
upbringing, father, engineer,
right.
Also just being a tattoo artist and maybe some like nature.
Yeah, I think I definitely have the engineer, architect blood. My dad was a self-taught engineer. He actually designed the first ever portable computer back in the 80s.
Really?
Yeah.
So it was like the first laptop.
You can look up his name, George J. Cole. He's the very well. It wasn't really a laptop. It was pretty clunky, but
but it was technically
designed
portable.
the very first. He's responsible
Really?
for the technology that's going on now.
Is he alive today?
Even Steve Jobs, he designed a modem for Steve Jobs when
Really?
Apple was cracking off.
Wow.
Back then. Yeah,
And is your father alive?
he is, but he's got dementia and he's on his way out. So.
But he was like very like known in that field.
Oh
for that
yeah,
stuff?
yeah.
So you grew up around.
I grew up around that technology and
Wow.
sitting in his little mad scientist lab, just watching all this stuff as a kid.
That
like
is
a very little kid. You know,
That's very
and then
fucking
you get
crazy.
cracked on the head, and you're like, oh.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
That literally is the most interesting thing I might have ever heard.
Yeah,
So that makes sense though, because there's like a very techness to your work.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why I resonate with your work so much too, because I kind of love that, like, and I don't know the word you used before, but use something opposite of a flow, the way the grid is.
yeah. The isometric graph.
And I don't know that term, and it's the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
But I feel like that, whatever that is, like resonates with me.
Yeah.
You know?
And when I did get in that accident, like it's almost like you're constantly seeing Tron lines everywhere, like you just hallucinating constantly.
And
for
I love that
years.
stuff, but I don't know why. Like,
It's just aesthetically pleasing.
it's so like,
Or maybe
'cause-
that's just the way everything's. If you think about
yeah.
if you think about mathematics and polygons, everything in nature, it doesn't matter what it is, even organic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apply has to abide by that.
I agree.
That geometry. Doesn't matter if it's tree bark.
I almost get it that way.
Yeah.
Because people used to tell me, you're so creative. They would always tell me that. And I always answered back with, I treat art like math.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, art is math.
Yeah.
It's literally so abstract that it almost becomes like math.
Yes.
I don't know if that makes any
No,
sense.
no, it
I think
makes
you might be the one guy who probably gets what I'm
makes
talking
complete
about.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like literally math.
Yeah.
Because like you said, even an organic flow could be broken down into like
It
that.
has to follow the polygons.
Yeah,
Down
yeah.
to the microscopic level.
Dude, that's crazy cool.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I used to say that, but I always felt like, because I actually feel practical, but abstract, if that makes any sense. But that might even be the reason, because within abstraction, there is like a bigger meta
Yeah.
practicality.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that isometric graph is I mean, if you look at all the ZBrush,
Yeah, sure.
it has a polygon mesh.
It sure does, yeah.
So
I actually, every time I use it, I want to meet the people who made that.
the program,
Those people they're like,
yeah.
they must be like some form of god. Like,
Well, I mean, it's probably a huge team of people.
yeah,
right?
but it's like to just be able, like, you know what I mean? It's a program you could spend your whole life learning
I can't understand
that somebody made. So that means not only do they fully understand it as at least a collective,
it. Yeah.
like what I could spend the next 30 years learning,
Mm-hmm.
these people created like
Yeah.
that. So that's like weird to me. Like, I mean, I guess you could say the same for all programs.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say the same for anything, because like I always wondered how like the Rolling Stones could just play any song live, right?
Right.
I guess everyone kind of has their superpower.
How did you learn the interface of that, the language of that?
That is because when I was a kid, for me playing, and I guess kind of like you were saying, like your dad introduced that too early. When I was a kid, there was a gaming cafe or a LAN center in my town, which was very unique because I come from a small little New Jersey town, and this guy, his name was Frank Halvosa. He rented a little building in our town, and the windows were tinted. There was no sign. And it was a gaming cafe, and he had like 20 computers lined up on each side. And on a Saturday, there'd be 20 bikes outside. And he had Medal of Honor, like Call of Duty, like the first one.
Yeah.
And the other that Counter-Strike.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we would go down there and we would play. But guys that they had a clan called Bunker. They called the place the Bunker.
Mm-hmm.
And there was older guys. I was, grammar school kid, but there was older guys that were in their 30s that built their own computers, but they would leave them there because it was like before you would have your own high-speed connection.
Yeah.
And so there was like this club, and they would use like, and then one guy would rent his computer out when he wasn't there, and I guess maybe he got like a cut of the rental. So like we used to play on like Sergeant Mayhem's computer, and it was like a smaller monitor, but he had a faster graphics card. Yeah. So I grew up since I'm a kid just fucking with these like computers, and then I built my own computer like shortly
different
thereafter.
Platforms and stuff.
And I just always loved like computers and RAM and taking apart the computer. So I always loved that, like, so for me, and I feel like, you guys had asked when you first come in, like, how do I know how to work this stuff? Because anything like that, I have like a deep foundation for just like figuring out.
It just makes sense.
Tech, but I'm not like a tech guy at the same time. You know what I mean? It's very hard to explain. Like, it just makes sense.
Right.
Like I know, like I can get into a program like ZBrush I never used before, and understand like, okay, there's going to be an undo, there's going to be a redo, there's going to be a go back, there's going to be like a mask, there's going to be a save here. But I just need to know the keys that do that because I relate it to my first experiences on other programs that I've learned since I'm a kid, you know?
Yeah.
So I just like have this way of like, so I'll figure it out,
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I could and then I have friends that are all like that too. So like for this podcast, my one friend does all the shorts, and he just figured it all out for me with me.
Yeah.
So we do it together.
You have a tech intuition.
Intuition with that shit.
Yeah.
So then that's where I get like my art style too from.
No, yeah, your stuff's very tech.
Very derivative from tech.
Yeah, the light source and all that stuff.
But also like paint and stuff like that too. So
just how it goes together.
Yeah.
What layers make sense?
So I feel like I relate to you in that, like
the tech sense.
Yeah.
That's why you're like,
yeah. Cool. That's why I was thinking. I was like, I
really want to learn how to use that. Maybe I can bug you.
Yeah,
if you're not too busy.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Jam here
because I definitely want to get. I
feel like I could learn how to push and pull with cubes and stack cubes. And
you definitely can, and you could
3D
probably
print some stuff.
You could and you could create templates with like your patterns, and then you could like move them. Yeah, and then you could light them.
Right
in there.
Well, the light source, that's where the power comes in.
Keyshot, that's the program.
Yeah, because you could turn it, and I did. When I was younger, I got into Bryce. You ever heard of that one?
I heard of it, but
Bryce
I never
4,
used it.
Bryce 5. I used to design straight up pieces like, I think I recorded that when I was young. That was right after that car accident. Guy Atchison had got me into that Bryce program, and I think I recorded a lot of that when I was like the way the light strikes the objects and stuff like that. So I think that has a big play on the way I light things. So my stuff's pretty simple. I'll say that, but people are like, no, it's not.
Well, I think it's a bunch of little simplifications put together to create a complexity.
Right, but it technically only has 3 sides. When I do hexagon faceted stuff, it has 6, but it technically only has 4 because if you strike a jeweled hexagon on the top, it's got the light, 2 mediums, then 2 semi-mediums, and then a dark. So it's just an equation. It's just a formula.
Yeah.
So I think the architecture is where my strength. The architecture of my stuff is the strength, but
that's interesting. Yeah. So it's like a combination of, like you said, the brain injury but I think like the architecture stuff has, like, now that you're saying that, it makes a lot of sense.
The way I build the stuff, it's like a giant Lego set.
Yeah.
Basically.
Actually, it's funny because when I was a kid, that was my favorite thing to do, Legos.
Yeah.
I think it's probably why I'm drawn to it, because I'm not going to lie, man, your work for me is like the coolest. Like,
Lego set, right?
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's
and
cool.
I feel like a kid. I feel like a child when I'm building that stuff. I'm like, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like, it's constructed.
Because I've seen you make faces, but they're on that shape.
Yeah, and you just find the closest, depending on how you scale that graph. You just place it over and make sure, if you're doing an animal, the pupils are lined up with one of those.
Do you ever go off that grid on some parts?
I do. Sometimes I'll just find a point, as long as it stays close to the true line of the, if I'm doing a portrait, I guess, quote unquote.
Yeah. But that's kind of like what you were saying when you look at tree bark, and you could still break it down to that shape.
Yeah.
Because you could almost go off the shape. It's kind of like Tool in music.
Yes.
They stay on that.
That's a huge influence.
Yeah.
Tool.
I've seen them live maybe 3 or 4 times now.
I only caught him once this last time.
So
I had
fucking
a
good.
busted foot, and had to use crutches. It was terrible. But it was a good show.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Love them. Yeah. Like, it's almost like, I almost see it like that.
Yeah.
They stay on that. Like, there's a name for the rhythm. I forget what it's called. You know,
polyrhythm or something like that. I don't know.
But you can like almost go off it, but get back on it.
Sure.
Like, in a way.
Everything's
right?
math, right?
Everything
is math.
And I feel like if there's anything I'm taking away from this, literally, dude, I tell people that all the time. My work is math.
I would say the religion thing. I'm not a religious person, but if I had to label it, quote unquote, God speaks math.
Yeah. It's like abstraction is just math.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think religion is just people's attempt to sort of describe whatever is responsible for all this.
The unknown.
The unknown, yeah. So
yeah, the unknown scares a lot of people, I think.
It does. They go, oh, I need something.
Yeah. But for me, it makes me comfortable.
Yeah. What am I going to find in there?
Because I think that there's only, and I'm not the one who thought of this. Someone told me this before, but it makes so much sense, is that there's only 2 real fears. I mean, there's only 2 real emotions, 1 real fear. I should reword that. Love and death.
Yeah.
Because all the negative emotions are derivative of death.
Right. Fear of annihilation.
Yeah. Fear of anything.
And when you trip, do you think you'll ever trip?
I think I will.
Yeah. So tripping is when you can't really ever reach complete ego death, because when that ego is on the verge of, like, it's so interrupted, it still steps in and goes, hey, you're gonna die. And that's when you're like, oh, I think I took too much. And then it never really completely dies, but when you have that
but your ego's what keeps you alive too.
Yes, it's a defense mechanism.
But it's where we're evolutionarily.
Like, hey, that's going to hurt me. Yeah, that kind of thing.
I mean, if we didn't have it, then we might walk into traffic.
But the cool thing about when you accomplish getting that close to ego death, you realize that you aren't your mind immediately. You're just like, oh, I'm watching this shit go down. I was like, oh. So then you become, that gives you almost like a superpower. You're almost like,
I'm the voice
I'm the watcher.
Speaking to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're the watcher.
I know,
of the
thoughts.
Bigger
voice.
You're not the thoughts themselves.
I trust this more than this.
But then with psychedelics, what happens with that is a lot of people. I'm going to do another shirt. This is funny, psychedelic club, because there's a huge problem in the psychedelic community where you take a bunch of psychedelics and for some reason you think you know what's good for everybody.
Yeah, it's like
the super ego comes into play.
They call
it I know everything.
The grandiosity of the enlightened.
I was like that for a few years.
I know what's best for you.
Yeah, it works for me. It's going to work for you instead of like.
Well, that's like the toxic positivity I talked about before.
Yeah.
It's almost like you almost need to like, and it's like a cliche quote from the Buddha, but like be still and know.
Yes.
Like, because it's like also not your job. It's almost like being a vegan and telling someone not to eat meat.
Yeah.
It's like you're almost being counterproductive in a way, because you're like trying to like force upon somebody something that they just didn't get to yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of that going on in society today.
There is. Oh, yeah. So it's almost like the best way to influence somebody would probably be to just like kind of stay in the pocket and just live what you believe.
I'll tell a story about the C word that happened over these past 2 or 3 years where I accidentally was in a position where I...
By the way, thanks for preserving my algorithm.
I know these scams. And I accidentally thought I was taking 2 doses of something, and it evaporated, and I wound up taking 20.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, so I got into that phase where I was online, but what I was saying I don't think is unnecessarily not true, but to get on there and rant like a raving idiot on there, like, I thought I was helping. Again, that super persona, or not persona, the super ego comes in and I know what's good for everybody, and it's like, I got trapped again,
Yeah.
So I put that stuff in the.
No, I agree, man. I definitely went there,
And it comes from a good place.
Yeah.
You think you're trying to, just like everybody that wanted people to get the,
Yeah.
They thought they were doing good for and doing their part.
You could almost do the same thing on the other end.
Right. It goes both ways.
Yeah, it does. It does.
But then you see bullshit, and then you see certain companies' history, and you see that they got fined billions of dollars for hurting people and bribing people, and
Right.
You're like, wait, you guys made something that's gonna heal me or help me?
Right.
Full of shit. You call bullshit because you see the lies and all that stuff. So you're like, I am right. I know I'm right on that.
Yeah.
So
Sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's like at the end of the day, you still have to be careful not to like go sometimes so far. And I made the mistake too, where you're like,
People get defensive.
yeah. It's like I said, it's like being like you're trying to spread a message by force.
Yeah. So I'm trying to be just more,
like just centered and
centered and just
live in peace with what you believe to be right, and maybe you'll inspire somebody by them signing on to like the good energy you can just live by or something. Because I've had the same like thought, that's why I get it.
I am an antagonist by nature. When I was growing up with my sister, I used to love to poke at her and irritate the shit out of her because she was older.
Mm-hmm.
So that's still my personality. I like to poke at people. I don't know. I get a kick out of it. I don't want to like rile people up to the point where they get sad or like it hurts their feelings. That sucks if that happens.
Yeah.
But I drop little government.
You get a charge out of them.
But I drop little government things that I still, just for fun, just little memes and stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun. Just to get people to go, wait, is that true? Just to get them to question.
Yeah. Well, you should. I was always raised on the idea that you should question everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I'm
for
still
sure. Where's
be
that?
way.
What happened to that? What happened to the 60s with Timothy Leary? Question everything, question authority,
Yeah, it almost seems like nowadays, like the 1950s high and tight bootlicker became the purple hair septum ring.
Yeah.
And
it's reversed.
It's reversed. But
I used to be.
I didn't change.
Can I use those terms? Liberal?
Yeah, I am liberal.
What? You're not a liberal.
Well, I mean, I'm
right.
I'm liberal. If you look up liberal in the dictionary,
right? What happened to the definition?
Yeah.
F the government. Vietnam is crap. I should be free to experiment with
This
my
is what I
mind. Now
feel.
they're like, no, take the thing
and freedom of speech.
Listen to the government and do your part. I'm like, wait, that's not liberal.
I think you should be able to say whatever you want,
Here's the thing.
even if I disagree with you. I like it.
I'm going to state this publicly. I love Tool to death. Those guys disappointed me during this whole thing.
Yeah,
especially
them and the Foo Fighters.
Especially the lead singer. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah, I know.
Question everything. Question authority. I got the stuff, and you need to get the thing, and like, it's like, dude, what are you guys doing, man?
What about this one?
I'm a Democrat, and it's like, what?
My favorite one was, "Fuck you, I won't do what they tell me."
Yeah, the Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
Here's a $700 ticket. You got to get the V
and fuck capitalism, but buy my ticket for $900.
Get your test and wear your mask. You're like,
it's like I didn't change.
They went from being free of the government to being communist. It's like, what the hell? I don't get it.
No, I don't think you're wrong, man.
Yeah. And then you got all those kids that are being brainwashed in school, like real communism's never been tried. Like, it's because it doesn't work, moron.
Yeah,
it doesn't work, idiot.
Tried.
People starve.
Yeah.
There's there's always going to be a megalomaniac trying to get power.
Because
are you an idiot?
Because on paper it works great.
Sure.
Until you put a human in charge of it who has the human condition.
Want the power.
Yeah. Naturally, and even if like they were pure going into it, eventually they're going to be like, well, let me take better care of my family or my friends or and then ultimately
power corrupts, right?
Yeah. So it's the idea, although sounds good, humans just aren't capable.
It's socialism.
Yeah, well, it's because humans have this innate evolutionary trait in them to protect and to make sure that they're well off and that they protect their unit.
Yeah.
Because we're evolved to take care of small bands of people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to take more to protect me and my kids.
Self-preservation, like you were saying about the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's going to come into play however you want to slice it.
Like the whole, what is it? The healthcare system. They want free healthcare. That's not going to work. It's a sick care system, first of all. So it's just a way for people to get money from sick people. instead of like trying to heal people.
Yeah.
We're gonna create this system of free healthcare. Like, come on, guys, you guys are dumb. You're programmed. You're parrots. You're just reading communist manifestos and you're a liberal professor. You're not stepping outside the box and being objective and viewing, like, watch all the systems fail throughout history.
Why is the conversation not so much to make people not sick from the beginning?
Right. Holistic
because
medicine.
There's still profit.
Stop eating processed foods and glyphosate.
And somebody's going to profit off even the free healthcare, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not for the people.
Let's talk about not getting sick.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, that would be a good conversation to have, I think.
You know what I mean? That's not. I don't trust.
But I don't think that. I think there's validity to what you're saying, because like when humans are involved in something, it's almost like
they ruin it.
Which is like kind of like, because I in my opinion, obviously I think capitalism, in my opinion, has been the best, most successful system.
Yeah.
Like, granted, it's not perfect.
No.
But I think that is a byproduct of it in a sense. Like, as much as I'm for it, because I'm a benefactor of capitalism and I enjoy partaking in it and having a dream job of creating art and getting paid well for it, and to me that's amazing, and I'm so happy for the innovation that comes from it, and like the things we've invented, and like
since the beginning of time, though.
Sure.
I mean, capitalism is the same as, hey, I got this broccoli. What, you got some tomatoes?
Yeah.
So, the money replaces the broccoli, and I'm going to give you some money for those. It's the broccoli.
And I'm a
for
giant
the tomatoes.
fan of it.
Yeah.
But I'm saying is like, that might be the negative of it, is that someone could then manipulate it that way.
Or come steal it from you.
Yeah.
Or just,
Well, then that's why you need to
ransack your crop and
that's why I would
crap on it.
Have a Springfield on me.
They're trying to take that ability away from you, though. They don't want you doing that. Don't protect your...
Because at the end of the day, all the systems that we create, even if you erase them, we're just living on a ball.
Yeah.
And there's just like...
Or are we?
Well, that's a whole other conversation. But what I'm saying is that we're here, and we can... Like, people can... Like, we've seen the earth create itself. Like, it's like clay.
Yeah.
Like, we just have a system that has been working for a little while, but at the end of the day, humans are like animals.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we forget that.
Yeah. I don't forget that.
I mean, but most of society like forgets that we're
like a tiger might jack
animals.
you while you're walking in the fucking forest.
It's the same.
I mean, that could happen right now. The only reason why we don't is because somebody is afraid of the repercussions.
Yeah. I'll say some crazy stuff that people will think I would say is like some reptilian, satanic, evil cabal, ancient death cult, conspiracy theorists. But just think about that. You call me a conspiracy theorist, or not you, but people would call me that. But who is playing chess with the human race? Somebody's playing chess with the human race beyond and they're positioning us into this, almost like the hot gates in the Spartan movie. Let's get them all to go down this little,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's. I don't know what's going on, and that the older I get, the more I'm like, I don't know shit.
But it is very interesting, because like, where does the overall influence of humanity come from?
I mean, there's those theories that some crazy other race came down and spliced us with chimpanzees. There's all those kind of.
Well, of course,
that stuff I don't really
shot
believe.
A seed on this earth.
It's nothing I believe, but it's stuff I entertain, so I can like think outside the box.
Yeah.
So
like, whatever you want to believe, there is like a group of elite human beings that have
obviously,
they say like Elon Musk is the richest guy in the world, but he's not at all. There's people way richer.
Yeah, they say
him.
There's a family that their assets are 500 trillion.
Like, you're almost transcending assets at that point, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have those kinds of,
you can control the world. Yeah.
But how is that even debatable? Like, if you had literally infinite resources, which, like, I don't know. I guess I'm torn between the fact that, like, would you, because that's not how you think, but if you did
have access to that,
if tomorrow I made you
would I do the same thing? No.
But that's what I'm like. But you might, but in a different way.
If I could, if I had like that, and I could, why? I don't understand why the people in power don't just make a utopia and let just people be.
But
why are we the only people that why are we the only species that pays to live on the planet?
Yeah.
That's weird.
That is weird. Where do you think that originally comes from?
Just power and control, you know?
But where did humans originally develop the idea of power and control where no other species does? Or do they? I don't know. I'm not that educated.
Greed. I think that gets biblical when you start getting into the 7 deadly sins and why humans behave the way they do.
Yeah.
I really think it's a spiritual, like, you can label it whatever you want, good, bad, evil,
right,
dark, light, whatever, but it really... It is a yin yang. The Taoists, all the religions line up to say the same exact, you know. And it'll balance itself out, like you said. It will. The earth. I
think so.
Yep.
Because like people talk about like we're gonna like destroy the earth, and I'm like, are we, or are we just gonna destroy our existence on the earth?
Yeah, just gonna, like George Carlin says.
Yeah.
Shake us off like a case of fleas.
By the way, my first major influence was him.
Yeah. My
dad took me to see him when I was like 12.
16. I got to see him when I was 16.
I got to see him as well.
Yeah. With that list he had, that whatever, how many dirty words you're not allowed to say.
7 words you can't say on TV.
Yeah. Well, he had a whole poster.
He's the best.
Yeah.
It's funny because comedy is my favorite. I don't watch many movies. I don't watch many shows, but comedy.
Yeah, comedy's good.
For me, it's everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it
shakes up society.
They're just truth speakers.
Yeah.
You know, I went to Rogan's Club the other day, and I saw his set, and not to like reveal one of his bits because it was before he recorded it, but I see him all the time, and he said a quote where he was like, the news posted like Joe Rogan opens right-wing comedy club in Austin, and he goes, and then he said, "You mean a fucking comedy club?"
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like comedy to me transcends like.
Yeah, don't mess with his comedy, man.
He's good. He's actually underrated.
Yeah, no, for sure. Sometimes I'm not into his deliveries, but I love his bits.
His new shit's good.
Yeah. He gets better with age.
He does.
For
his
sure.
newest set,
like his younger stuff, he's like screaming a lot. But
sure,
the older he gets, the better his delivery.
No, his new set
sure.
that's unrecorded is to me his best stuff.
Yeah,
because I've seen a lot.
I saw him at the Ice House once.
Yeah,
with Tony
Hinchcliffe.
Yeah.
That's my favorite comedian.
Yeah.
He's my favorite comedian because he don't give a fuck.
Yeah. But you know, when you start attacking comedy, I think Joe Rogan's more like, you don't mess with comedy.
Yeah, which is what I respect so much.
Because they're visionaries of society that point out the flaws, and they try to relieve society by laughing at them, but pointing them out. So you like, oh yeah, holy crap.
They're like to me like they're messengers.
Yeah. Like almost prophets.
Yeah. It's super cool.
They're seeing what's going on and they're making fun of it. So you like, oh, that's funny. And wait,
probably
that's
why
funny.
I resonate with it so much.
Yeah. I've always been a huge comic. Dave Chappelle, of course.
Yeah, of course.
The whole Chappelle show is ridiculous.
Chappelle is amazing.
Yeah, he's a genius.
I tattoo a comedian, David Lucas, his name is.
Yeah.
And he's like a very like amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah, so good.
Has he got to play at the...
Yeah, he does. He actually did the first set ever at Joe Rogan's Club.
Oh, nice.
So he's actually coming here Monday. I'm going to finish his arm. But he is... he don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, if there's something you could say that would upset or rustle feathers, he says it.
Yeah.
You know? And I love that shit. I think they're like I said, they're preservers of free speech.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
For me, comedy is like it's something I actually wrestle with.
That's America, man.
Something I want to do, you know.
That is America.
Yeah.
I mean, the UK has some dry, cool comedy, you know, Monty Python and all that kind of crazy stuff.
But they don't have free speech.
No, not these days.
Yeah. Many places don't.
Yeah. But
we never thought
that is
Canada.
The last like hill.
Yeah.
I think the comedy.
I always thought video games were.
Right.
We used to talk mad shit on a video game.
Yeah.
And now they're even censoring the voice on there. Like they'll like monitor it.
Yeah, people get offended.
Yeah.
People get offended at everything. It's and it's sad. We encourage poor health just so we don't hurt people's feelings. It's weird. It's a weird time.
That is a weird time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people aren't... I mean, society used to use bullying and shaming as a way to like point out and like, oh, okay, well, maybe they're right. Maybe I should, you know. Now it's more like, don't do that. That's so wrong. Like, let them self-destruct.
Yeah.
That's weird.
Well, it's interesting for me because all the times I've been like, I almost think that I might not do what I do now if I wasn't a little bit shamed about it.
Yeah.
Like it created a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
Sure.
And a lot of the times when I was creating my art, I'd be like listening to
Yeah.
those voices, like you can't do that, or you suck, or,
Yeah.
you know, or art is stupid, and like all these things. And it made me feel more compelled to press forward. So I almost think that a world without some of that adversity would be like a real like shitty place to be.
Adversity is important, you know.
Yeah.
Where participation trophies are creating a society of a bunch of unproductive, they have no purpose in life, you know.
Yeah.
Like the adversity builds character and builds, you know.
I mean, think of even some of your favorite like musicians,
Yeah.
artists. They had to overcome
for
some
sure.
form of adversity to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Like it's crazy to me. Like, what would be the imagination? Or, like probably even back to an evolutionary standpoint, like you had to get creative to survive, right? I would think.
Yeah. Like,
You know?
make that tool, make that arrow, and we
Yeah.
throw it at that creature. Oh,
Or I might get eaten by a tiger.
sure.
So
Yeah.
that's like
We don't have that now.
to me, but I think we do.
Yeah.
I think they're just pretending we don't.
Yeah.
And that's why I think there'll be a major correction, because there's that's not how it works.
No, it's not. Well, that's the thing too. I keep trying to say I'm not religious, but you can't mimic the G word, God, whatever, nature. I consider nature to be God.
Sure.
So we'll just say nature, universe, whatever you want to
Like
call
the
it.
sun is God.
What yeah,
Like
exactly.
Carlin said that.
Exactly, man.
Yeah.
Like the stuff you can see and observe in
Like,
real time.
yeah.
And people are too dumb now to go, oh, that's how it works. You're not a lion. You're not supposed to eat meat. No, I'm supposed to eat meat, guy. Like that's the way it goes. It has
Yeah.
stuff in it. You know,
Yeah.
you're watching people that don't eat meat get anemia and all this other stuff. And, you know, come on, you can just make
Yeah.
observations.
It's like the sun gives life to a plant, and the water rains down, and then an animal might eat that, and then another animal eats that.
and then go even microscopic and watch all the little
Yeah.
mycelium.
Yeah.
The plant eat the mycelium and the bacteria and the parameciums and the eugleninas
Yeah.
and all those.
You wonder what's beyond microscopic. Have you ever thought about that?
Yeah.
Is there like, because microscopic is just as far as humans went to observe. So
Yeah.
we invented a tool to see beyond our
Right.
our perception.
Where's it going to go from there?
But is there another level beyond?
I'm
that?
sure.
Is
I'm sure
it
it keeps
infinite?
going. Yeah.
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 'Cause-
could be existing on a thing this big that just keeps going and going and going.
Because microscopic to us might be actually large to the great picture.
macroscopic to
Yeah.
someone else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Horton Hears a Who.
What's
Ever
I don't know.
You ever watch that
No.
Dr. Seuss thing?
No.
Where it's a tiny little piece of pollen or something that this Jim Carrey plays the elephant. It's a great movie. You should watch that movie. It's great.
What's the name?
Horton Hears a Who.
Okay.
It's basically what we're talking about. It's like this tiny little piece of pollen. You can't even see it, but he can, for some reason, hear there's a whole society of little Dr. Seuss characters living on there. And, you know, he's trying to save this thing of pollen, and people think he's crazy, but he can hear the people in there, because there's this little scientist that makes this almost like record, you know, those old record things with the big things that make the sound. This scientist makes that to where he can talk into it, and then that's how he hears what's going on in this little Whoville. So Whoville's the little community that's existing, this whole society on this little piece of pollen. It's an insane movie. It's pretty funny.
But that might be us.
Yeah, exactly. Floating through.
Everything we've discovered in each direction is just from our perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, or we could be living on an infinite flat plane. Why can't we go to Antarctica? Nobody asked that question.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know much about it. I never,
Why? You know,
never spent time.
if you say you research flat Earth, just like with the political climate, if you say anything against one side or the other, you're the other side. So
you're
if
saying it's like manipulative in a way?
no. So if I say if I criticize the Democrat side, I'm automatically a right-wing Republican.
Oh, but you might
so
not be
if I
either.
research flat Earth, I'm automatically a flat earther. I'm, you know.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm saying? You can't vet the truth anymore. If you go against the narrative, you're automatically the other side. It's like
Yeah.
You can't.
So you're saying
there's
you
no
can,
such thing as objectivity to
you
people.
can just look up what that is and not necessarily say I fully
Yeah,
believe
I'm just
the
like
Earth's flat.
interested.
You're just
in, like,
open-minded in a potential.
They have some good points. It's like, wait, why can't we go to Antarctica? What the hell's the deal there? Like, why is that? Nobody will give us an answer. So
right.
maybe their little, infinite plane thing is correct. I mean, it is hard to believe that we're spiraling through the universe at 550,000 miles an hour, spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and we don't feel anything.
Well, I even just look at it from like a literal standpoint, like because at other times in history we believed one thing to be true, and then it was later not.
Galileo, right?
Right.
He's the one that said the Earth is round. But
And I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe the Earth's flat or round or anything.
Exactly.
But
Same.
what I'm saying is I'm very open-minded to whatever
objective.
Yeah.
You don't really know.
I don't.
You only know what you've been taught in school through history.
I know nothing.
Same with the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
The term dinosaur came around in 1891. Why is that? Weren't we finding?
Yeah.
And there's that Tartarian thing. There's like the Earth. There was a mud flood that. There's like societies buried like thousands of feet deep in mud. And
Yeah. Have you ever listened to like that? I like that. My favorite was the Graham Hancock stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff is super cool.
Yeah, his stuff is cool.
Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and we're uncovering it, and that's the thing with like why I didn't believe the whole narrative with the last 2 or 3 years is because science changes. You're supposed to like, oh, that was wrong. Whoops, we found this, and everybody's like, trust the science. Like that's it, and it's like, no, dude, you don't trust the science. You observe the science, and then you make okay, well, this is right now, but it's probably going to be wrong later.
Well, the reason why I agree with that is because I noticed those same thinking behaviors even just within my own self.
Right.
So if that is within
common sense,
if
right?
that is within myself and people that I know,
right,
then I think that should just be true for all of human existence.
Right. People just believe in whatever they're told.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So I can't say that, like, for me I agree because like I changed my opinion from last week.
Yeah.
I did.
Yes.
So I think it would be quite crazy for me to think that other things in nature don't do that.
Yeah.
What am I, the only one?
Right. You're not allowed to change your mind these days.
And I change my mind all the time.
If you said that, then you're canceled because that's what you believe then.
So if I change my mind, then I believe that I don't think maybe I'm a little bit unique potentially with like the way I light a skull.
Yeah.
But I'm not unique in the sense of the grand picture of humanity.
Right.
That would be like narcissistic for me to think I'm so different. So if I change my opinion, it means there's the potential that you do.
Yeah.
And if you do, that means the collective does.
Sure.
And if the collective does, then I think it would be true. It would be crazy for me to believe that one thing was just the truth.
Yeah.
I
think truth is like, I need air to breathe.
Yeah.
Oxygen is important.
Yeah.
I need to eat. I need to drink water.
Yeah.
But everything
as
else
far as our reality goes, that would be
everything else
true.
is subjective. You know what I mean? Or it's subjective. That's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, I don't understand what happened the past 2 or 3 years, but I'm still getting over it. I think still a little.
Well, that's why
PTSD.
I know we talked about it with like the math before. I think in a weird way, I don't like math literally.
Math is absolute.
But that's why I like appreciate math.
That's why I like math. Math is math. That's that. It doesn't
it's like
change.
1 + 1 is 2. If I have
that's
two,
racist, bro. 2 + 2
if I have
racist.
2 cans of beer, 1 can, and I add another can, now I got 2.
Yeah, but that's racist. Math is like, we build crazy structures with math. It's not racist. It's just what it is.
Well, I mean, even the pyramids or.
I had people call me racist when I was doing that whole COVID.
Yeah.
So, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's bizarre.
I'm not.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. Anyway.
Well, it almost becomes just like an easy way to like label somebody and they
shut them down.
People were like when you question. I mean, think how powerful fear is, right?
Yeah.
It makes people do wild things.
Ultimate tool.
Well, and like I was saying before, I think that there's only one real fear, and it's the fear of death.
Yeah.
And all fears stem from that fear.
Yeah, and you can control a lot of stuff with that.
So if somebody's reality is threatened, then they enter a state of fear and they just use some vulnerability in society right now to kind of make you quiet.
Yeah.
So that they're not threatened.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like almost like a weird, dark survival instinct on their behalf.
Yeah.
I guess.
I think there's a lot of bots online too doing that.
There is. And I know.
I think that AI can be programmed to like go in and just find and just use propaganda bots almost.
Sure.
They just go in and like
Well, I don't know about you, but have you found that sometimes you think things are like way worse off than they are, and then you would meet someone who might even have like a little bit different of an opinion than you, and you're like, they're really not even that horrible when I'm talking to them, like
No, I
face.
I won't mention any names, but I tattoo a super liberal guy. We have completely opposite.
Yeah.
And I always I'm always talking to him, trying to find out his perspective, and sometimes he'll throw stuff at me like, oh, I didn't know that, I try to listen as much as I try to listen with the intent to hear rather than to speak.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
Because the ego wants to, I know, and it wants to interject a lot. But
sure,
I really do try to practice that as much as I can. But
yeah,
I have a couple, actually a few liberal clients, and they know my politics.
Yeah.
Or they think they know my politics, but my politics are like, just leave me the fuck alone. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I'm not doing anything that you need to get in my life and tell me what to do. Go bother everybody else that's willing to be bothered,
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, because I had the same thing with people, and maybe I disagreed with them, but like when I was hanging out with them in person, it's like there's not even a bad person, and they just have their fucking way in life, and took them one way and me the other way.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of it just like the internet. It's like almost like we were talking about earlier. It almost seems like the internet sometimes like is used as like a leverage system,
divide and conquer,
for some kind of new modern warfare.
100, 1,000% intentional.
Yeah, and it's like, because even the person I disagree with, like at the end of the day, when like we look at each other on like a frequency level, it's like you're just like an animal out here trying to survive too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just wrapped your brain around something that makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
Some
kind of ideology. I'm right.
Yeah.
That's the ego.
It's like the ego. Yeah,
the ego loves that shit.
Yeah.
I'm right.
Right.
Yep.
Which is like where I even like kind of looked inward sometimes too, and started to wonder if like some of my ideas, like you said, beyond the logic, like literally like, hey, that just don't seem right, because it's like I'm using deductive reasoning. But beyond that, like even I've got wrapped up in the ego sometimes on the reverse.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Ego is a hard one to tackle. I am guilty.
I don't know that you can. Can you?
You
can
can't.
You totally?
It is your identity. You cannot get rid of it.
Is that not just
like
the
that,
human
the new
existence?
age? Yeah, the new age stuff where people like kill the ego. Like you can't, guys. Like, that was the super ego from psychedelics. Those kind of people.
That would be nirvana.
You can't reach that as a human. Maybe after you're dead. Maybe I don't know. I don't even know that. But the ego wants to think it knows.
Yeah.
To identify.
Yeah, I mean, unless you do like a lot of MDMA, I guess might be the closest.
You can cut it off with that stuff.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites.
It's temporary though.
Yeah.
But
it's amazing though. It's great for marriages.
I've done it a couple times.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. Well, so you have done psychedelics.
Yeah, but would MDMA be considered psychedelic?
It's a psychedelic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. That stuff's great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
It just really helps to wash away. A lot of people are like, oh, it burns holes in your brain. Nah, it's propaganda.
I had my arm around a bunch of strangers, and I was just talking to them.
Nothing matters. You can just compartmentalize stuff. It does really, really help PTSD.
Yeah,
in fact, that was the first psychedelic, so that might have a little bit to do with the crushing the opiate addiction. But the mushrooms is when I crushed that one. But I did do MDMA first.
Okay.
It scared the shit out of me, but.
Doing it before? But when you're on it, you can't.
Oh, no, it was the whole trip was great, but I overdrank water and I almost killed myself with water.
Oh, like drowning?
Well, because everybody's like, you got to drink water, you're going to dehydrate. It's like, yeah, for a rave. I'm just sitting chill on my couch.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on my couch.
That's kind of how I did it too. I like that better.
Yes, just chill with some chill music and just relaxing. And
just hanging
out with the wife.
Yes. You're with.
Yeah, exactly. I only do it with my wife.
Yeah. I mean, seems like a good place to do it.
MDMA.
Yeah.
And doing it, but yes. Yeah.
Or on MDMA.
Yeah, that too. But yeah, that's the only person I care to connect like that with. So
Yeah. Pretty cool.
I think it really has kept our marriage open and honest and egoless, as much egoless as you can. Everybody, like we were just discussing, there's no way to completely annihilate the ego. I hate that new age hippie shit.
Well, it's not real.
No, it's not real. You cannot kill
you almost
or annihilate
need the ego
your
in a weird way, because it is like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, you just have to learn what to feed it.
Right. or your relationship to it.
Right. And
or to
understand
listen
it, or
to
get
the
know
voice
it.
beyond it.
You get to know it. And yeah, you sneaky little fucker. Stop
Yeah.
doing that. You know, like
Let it in almost.
Yeah, let it in. Like, haha, I got you.
Yeah,
you know, like,
Because
don't let it steer, like make you.
If you're wrestling with it and denying it, you're in a bad place. You almost like, haha, yeah, like you said, hey ego.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for that old defense mechanism.
Right,
But
you shithead.
right now, you don't serve me.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, old patterns. You know.
Little 5-year-old me needed you maybe.
Right.
But not now.
Yeah, I think that's a trick too. Like being able to recognize like patterns within yourself and like, oh, I'm doing it again.
Yeah.
You're like, let me stop that. You know.
Yeah.
Let me go run a couple miles and shake myself out of that. You know?
Sure.
Because if you just sit and just do whatever it tells you, you want those Reese's Pieces and that in and out, and you just want to sit in front of the internet and scroll and don't do that. You know, it's weak. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's just like a comforting thing.
Yep.
Not comforting, but like comforting. Well, I get not like truly comforting, but like to the ego, like just appeasing.
Yeah, it's like you're listening to me. I have the power.
Well, it's like the great
duality.
Yeah. But it's like kind of like that corny saying. It's like without the mud, there's no lotus. Like,
right.
You know, like, so then, what would be your perception of like being void of your ego? I guess, right? Like without that.
Yeah, and the
it's
whole
like the balance.
Muddy glass of water. If you put more mud into a muddy glass of water, can't really tell it's getting more muddy.
Yeah.
It's only until you get it like real clean. Go to those depths where you fasted yourself to like, you know, no calories for 72 hours, and you're like, ugh, that's what is this? You know, like, and you're like, oh, then you get to really know yourself. Like fasting's a really good tool.
I've been doing the shit out of it. I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Just get
I
to
didn't
the
eat
point
yet.
of starving almost. You're just like, oh, I was just eating garbage, and what am I doing? Like, it really get to know the watcher. Like, I'm hungry. I've never felt hungry before fasting. Like, what is true hunger? Like, that's another thing I feel is our country doesn't even understand is like, what true hunger, that's a really good way to get to know yourself.
Sure.
Yeah.
It makes good sense. And it's really interesting because most of the rest of the world, that's what they deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah.
We
just
like
clean water, right?
We're like one of the few places that actually doesn't think of stuff like that.
No, we're just worried about, I couldn't get my new car this month. It's like, do you need a new car? I don't know. Do you really need that? Do you need this? Do you need, like, the priorities are all whacked out and messed up, I think.
Yeah, it's like we're out of tune.
Yeah.
But that's like, I guess, where the juxtaposition comes in, because like I appreciate how good and everything is great in our country, but maybe that is like things have gone awry away too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we're so, you know what I mean? Because I'm like prideful of my country. Like I don't see any benefit of not liking my country. You know,
it's like keeping your house clean.
Yeah, this is my place. This is
where I
I'm
live,
from.
and I'm proud
where
to live
my friends
there,
are from, and my family are from here.
Yeah.
Why should I hate it? What benefit does that do?
Yeah, that's what our kids are being taught these days.
But what benefit does that do?
Nothing.
That's like shitting in your living room.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, weirdly, as you say that, I could see where like we've gone so far and like lacked the discipline in a way to like kind of remember why it might be so good. So I think maybe that would be like the answer. Maybe.
Yeah, the gratitude thing.
Yeah.
Back to gratitude. People don't have any gratitude. They're being taught to hate the country. It's not the country.
Yeah.
It's the people running the country.
Right. Because
like I said, the liberal mindset is like, oh, government, like more government. It's like, no, these are the people that are fucking it up.
Yeah. Because like I've been around the world, and like American people are pretty nice people, really, overall.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
polite, mostly.
Yeah.
There's some crazy ones out there.
Well, of course, but I mean, like in general, like they're like I've even had European friends tell me that like your American people are pretty nice overall.
Yeah.
Like when I visit here from Europe, like people
They'll
talk
hold the
to
door
me.
for you.
Yeah. Like it's not all so bad.
No, you always have assholes everywhere you go.
Of course.
But
sure.
in general, the United States is pretty.
Like people are pretty open, like in general.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, there's crazy people,
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
Yeah. Life is bizarre. I love life. Life is good. I try to focus on that. Just the chance to just be able to experience everything is just it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm
it's
with
amazing.
you. That's for me. That's like one of my like we were talking about being uncomfortable. For me, like doing this is that, you know, like reaching out to someone like you or people, you know, that I don't know or never met. For me, it's like tattooing. I could just keep doing that. Yeah. But for me, I want to like do something more, you know. Yeah. And now this is like my way.
Step out of the.
Yeah. This
do something you love at the same time.
It's not exactly comfortable for me either, you know. Like,
you're good at it though.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good, man. Life is good.
Hell yeah.
I'm definitely stoked to be here. You know, as a youth, you're like Pantera, fuck the world. You know, it's like, you know, you're a youth. You don't know what the hell's going on. You're just like you're going from child to adult, and you know you have that span there. You're like listening to 9 Inch Nails and fuck the world again. You know, and then you go into like, wait, what if I just never existed? Shit. You know, like I think that lacks.
Yeah.
Today.
You know what my first thought was as a kid? If I wasn't me, then I would just be somebody else. Yeah. That was literally the first thought I ever had. And I remember that. Yeah. So it makes me almost feel like sometimes like that my perception would still be. Yeah. If that makes any weird sense. It's like a hard thing to understand, but like I feel like I don't want to sound like a hippie, but like we're all like.
Oh, right. I see what you're saying.
Like if I didn't exist and wasn't me observing the world, then I still would have been.
Like we're all one.
Yeah, in a weird way.
Like, yeah, I've had those.
You know what I mean?
You're just a version of me right now.
Yeah.
And my wife is a version of whatever. Yeah, like we're all connected somehow. We're all facets of each other.
Like whatever I was trying to like manifest would have like
eventually somewhere. Yeah. Somehow.
And it probably did maybe even already.
Yeah. You know? Or
it is right now.
Or this could all be happening in your head. You're imagining me and
maybe
the situation and
sure.
Right.
Yeah. I'm open to it.
I did have I had an episode one time where a long time ago I was taking too much LSD and I came to the conclusion and I took so much that for 3 months I was convinced that I was laying in a hospital bed and I was just imagining all in a coma. You know, somewhere
I
like.
had a dream like that before.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is not real. What the hell is happening? When's this going to go away? Is this how it's going to be? I'm in a hospital somewhere.
But you're like, was it like a form of like sleep paralysis?
Psychosis, maybe, you know?
You were sober.
I was awake. I wasn't partaking. It was just stuck like that for consuming so much of. Oh. I got obsessed with just traveling so far with that stuff because once I got a hold of psychedelics, I just got obsessed with it. I see. Taking just massive amounts of things.
But I've had that experience just when I was falling asleep.
Right. And you can reach those places with astral projection. And
dude, I was falling asleep and I literally was frozen in my body and I had an out-of-body experience and I observed myself and then I fell off my bed and cracked my head on like a dresser. Yeah. But none of it was real. Yeah. But I was watching that happen.
Yeah. Astral projection.
Yeah.
They say you can do that on purpose by just like say I think counting in your dream backwards or like clocks. If you see a clock in there, like you can actually like learn how to like on purpose do it.
What about I think you can like almost like become. It's like lifting weights at the gym. You can become like stronger.
Yeah, I've never been able to do it.
But because I've heard that same kind of thing with like I guess lucid dreaming. Yeah, and I've had that happen before where I like know I'm dreaming. Yeah. And I kept jumping off a waterfall and it was like 1,000 feet and it was like rainbows and I was like flipping and landing in the water and I was feeling what that would feel like if I was like a human doing it, but without the consequences of like dying as a result. Yeah, like but I knew it was a dream. Yeah. And I was like, well, why don't I just go back up there and somersault and just experience, you know, free flowing through the air and hitting water and then swimming. And I was experiencing these sensations like
in the dreams,
but I can like they were real. Yeah. But I was dreaming, and I knew I was dreaming, and I kept saying it doesn't matter. This is just a dream. I'll wake up anyway.
Yeah. See, are you doing that often?
No, I can't say often, but I could say
you've had it.
It's been more than
reoccurring
once.
Different experiences.
Yeah, but I've had other times where that was about to happen, and I got a little frightened by it, and I pulled away. Yeah. And I like tried to open my eyes, and I woke up.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, because it was like
you're free falling. It's too much.
It was too much letting go of like reality.
Sensory overload. You're like, you just.
I was just scared to let go. I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've had some of those, you know, where you. driving off a cliff in your dream and you wake up before you hit the bottom kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like, I wonder why you wake up before you hit the bottom if it's not like, it's interesting the correlation.
It's not real?
Yeah. Because it's like, is that like your ego?
Like the Matrix, how do you define real? Merely
Could
electrical
be,
signals interpreted by your brain.
It's true. Yeah, I guess. I guess that's what I'm figuring out.
Yeah. That's the greatest movie of all time. I think it's real.
I've never even seen them in their entirety.
Oh,
I'm just a
man.
bad movie guy, though. But I think I need to change that.
I think I've watched The Matrix probably like 400 times.
Yeah, like that, huh?
Just play it in the background while you're painting. I could like recite the whole
Maybe
thing.
I'll put it on. That's why I got the TV here.
Yeah. It's a good one. They say there's a lot of... you know how you can go on YouTube and you can find like... what do you call that? The premise of the movie, and they'll do like... break it down and like show how it came to be. There's Nietzsche in there. There's all kinds of
from the Matrix.
Yeah, it'll break it down and show you like it's the Christ figure, because even in the last one he's like in a crucifix position, and it's just showing the different dualities in man. And it's a deep. Even though Keanu Reeves is kind of whatever, he's all right. He fits that role good because he's not a lot of dialogue. So but it's pretty layered.
Well, sometimes I feel like I rob myself from like inspiration by not watching so many movies.
Yeah, there's good ones though. I mean, there's good ones that
I don't watch many movies, and that's
at
what I'm
all?
saying. Not really.
Just attention span, or
yeah, and sometimes I just sit in like an empty room. Like I could come here on my day off and sit here for 8 hours and do nothing.
Really, you just chill?
Not even.
Yeah.
Like just
sit.
I don't even know. Just waste time.
No drawing?
No.
Really?
I do. I've been doing that since I'm a kid. But then other times I'll come and get like mega obsessive.
Yeah. Okay.
It's almost like there's probably needs psychedelics. There's probably like a blockage of fear somewhere.
Maybe. I don't know if they're for everybody. I mean, that's for you to decide.
Yeah, well,
I would never encourage
and
anyone.
I know that. Yeah,
I would
I
never
agree.
encourage anyone to. For me, they've helped me tremendously,
because
they can either make a mental illness worse, or they can help. So that's not for anyone else to
because
say,
sometimes
hey,
I feel like my creation, like even like the paintings you see back there, like a lot of them are done from a perspective of like like an ego position in a weird way. Sometimes I feel
explain.
Like I feel like I'm doing them not from like the purity of the flow from my soul, maybe like more from like I'll show you.
Oh, you're like, I'm gonna do this Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that painting back there that so people see that.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like,
dude, I think that's any artist.
Yeah.
I don't think that's.
Sometimes
I don't
I
think
feel like
that's unhealthy or an uncommon thing. Like,
it might even
trust
be
me,
for
I get
myself.
off. I get off honestly at lighting people's brains up when they're like, "That's crazy."
Yeah,
I'm like,
right. It's almost like an addiction to like the dopamine response.
Yeah,
potentially.
but you definitely have to separate that and just make sure your main the main, or for me anyway, the main focus of why you do it is for the love of, not just for the dopamine hits. Or,
Yeah. I've definitely done both, and sometimes I feel like I've had like breakthroughs when I was like painting when I like want to, like those days where you're just not like,
feeling it.
Yeah, it's like almost like if you're going to like the gym, or working out or something, and it's like some days it's really easy because you're like excited to be here, and then other days you're like forcing yourself. Yeah. So sometimes I've had days where I just poured the painted for 10 minutes.
Like, nope.
But I still like appreciated that, in a way.
Like, at least I did it.
Yeah. So
that's cool. Yeah, it's hard to get into paint if you're not in the mood for it and you force it. It's hard.
Yeah, sometimes you wind up working in circles. And
and you're like, what did I do? Now I gotta fix that. Mess that shit up.
So I like go through these like energetic flows that happen in spurts. Yeah. And I'll paint the painting in like a few days, and then I'll like stop for 3 months, and then I'll go back to it for a few days. So I kind of like work like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's somewhat common. I think a lot of artists will, like you said, ebb and flow.
It's like you're working off the mania.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get obsessed. I have probably 12 paintings going at any time.
So that's what I shouldn't be afraid to do then.
No.
Have multiple
If
shit
you got an
going.
idea, man, get it out. Just leave it sit.
Because I have an idea that I want to get out right now.
Who cares?
Just rip it out. Yeah,
just let it sit. Who cares if you just get the thing like, yep, and it's no different than it's no different than, hey, I got this idea on a recorder, so just get it on the canvas, and that way you get to stare at it. Like, I think I heard this story. I don't know if it's true, because who knows if history's the way it's written is true, but Michelangelo, I think I learned that off Lost. I don't know if it's a true fact, but
the show, I saw that one.
Michelangelo took 4 years to look at that piece of stone before he carved the statue of David or something.
Yeah.
Same thing. I like to keep paintings around. I think it's common for artists to do that.
Okay, that's what I don't do, and I should.
12 of them in here sitting. And
just
you're like,
get an idea
and
out.
you're looking at it every day for a year, and like, oh yeah.
I think that's what I need to do.
Yeah. Don't be programmed by society like you should finish that.
Yeah.
It'll get finished.
Yeah.
It's meant to be finished.
Sure.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah.
A lot of, mom growing up would be like, or people, you never finish anything. I'm like, no, I finish plenty. I just finish it the way I want to finish it, when I want to finish it.
Sure.
I call the shots.
Yeah.
I'm in control of my own life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always been that way.
You're the god. You're the curator.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody is the god of their own life.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And stop letting society program you how to be. I think,
Yeah. There's no right way.
Follow your heart and do what you want, as long as you're not hurting someone else.
Right.
Or interjecting your shit onto someone else.
Yeah, I guess
you're
that
like,
was.
What about your Instagram? Well, you came there. I didn't tell you to go there. It's in my feed. Well, then block me. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just being, you're just living the way you want.
Doing
now.
what I want to do. I'm not hurting anybody.
You might change. You might not.
Yes. Hopefully it does change.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, exactly.
I'm like, what's the next thing? Instagram's getting old.
Yeah, that's how I've been feeling.
What's the next thing? Like Instagram was bomb when it first came out. The organic exposure and selling art prints to people, and now they're like, give me some money.
Yeah.
I want some money. Everything's like just so tightly controlled, and
I almost think it might go back to shaking people's hands.
Right? Snail mail.
I'm not against it.
Like, let's write some letters and send some actual.
That don't worry me.
No.
Because I meet people out. Like, for me, that don't bother me.
I would just start going out again, and
I would adapt and overcome.
Sure. Maybe that, I think, with the AI thing, back to that, is like, people are scared of AI. I'm like, I'm all for it. Yeah. Because once people, type in a bunch of keys and prompting a computer that to me does not make an artist.
It's actually interesting to me because I see people do the AI and I see tattoos made with it, and I know right away.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I'll see some guy do a girl face, holding something, and I'm like, dude, that was definitely AI generated because there's these weird things around it.
Right, but I guess if the dude that's prompting it, if he's tattooing it, I mean, I guess he's just a technician at that point.
Yeah, I'm still not mad. It's whatever.
Yeah, but the guy that takes a portrait piece and you mentioned that you do that arranges the light and has the eye to that's an artist still, because you're still choreographing that picture. You're not an AI doing it. You're doing it.
If I'm gonna paint a portrait of Joe Rogan, I'm not gonna draw from my memory a picture of his head.
Just
that
take
would
the
be
picture.
dumb.
No, I don't do that when I do the geometry stuff. I use a underlying thing, and I use a existing picture, so it's not
exactly.
Yeah, but being that choreographer, it's you're still an artist doing that.
Yeah.
But the guy that prompts it and then tattoos it just like it's prompted, he's a technician.
Right. Yeah.
It's not really doing anything different than that computer told him to do. He just types some keys, and he knows how to he's a technically proficient tattooer.
Yeah.
There's no art involved. He didn't arrange anything.
I'll take a portrait and put color layers on it, and I'll paint it. I'll recognize the light sources, then I'll change the color of the light source, and I'll dodge and burn things, and then I'll add a background, but I'll add something on the side that I know goes in relation to the light.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And stuff like that, and then I'll try to balance things with it. And I have a whole little way of doing it on Photoshop and all that shit.
Yeah.
So,
that's art to me.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
And then I'll try to be a really good technician after that.
The prompting, I just don't understand. I don't really feel like that's art.
Yeah.
Well,
and then I like to leave some space open for my tattoo that I make online. I make live decisions while I'm doing the tattoo.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll just be like, man, I'm not going to figure out the background.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take a Sharpie and make some marks and
Yeah, and you'll make split second decisions. With well, maybe I don't like the where that highlight is right there. I'm gonna move it over here.
Yeah,
you know
that I just do that while I tattoo.
exactly.
9 out of 10
so
times.
you're just that's like
riffing.
riffing. I call that.
Exaggerate the highlight here because it makes sense. Yeah. Or there's a lot of purple in the background, so I'm gonna make the highlight yellow instead of white to complement.
I think that's all art.
A little shine of yellow that's really at the forefront, kind of balances like a background of purple. You know, like just like
and that delicately placed and balanced way you light things and push things and pull things, like distance, foreground, background, middle ground, or different layers to the piece. Yeah,
or there's no line around it.
That's all art.
While I'm tattooing,
when you're going, whatever, Joe Rogan, green light, cinematic, 4K, octane render. That doesn't take any skill, man.
Ray tracing.
It's
highlights.
Like you guys are lame. Like it's lame.
Yeah,
it's cool it's gonna be cool for a minute, but it's not gonna replace like real artists. And if people are scared about that, then maybe you should step up your game.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I'm 0% scared of any of that.
Not scared at all.
Hell no.
0. So
well, you should be the last guy to be scared because I don't see anyone doing
everybody
anything.
I got on that. I got a little like just perturbed for a second because everybody's like, hey, I was gonna cause a. And I'm like, no. And then I was like, wait, no, it's not.
But I've never seen an artist do even close to what you do, you know?
There's some people that like do it at, I think, out of like, what's the word? Not inspired by?
Sure.
Or not influenced.
Yeah.
Well, just because they appreciate the work and it gets flattering, you know?
Yeah,
you can tell they're like, oh.
Okay, so I've never seen it.
But I haven't seen anybody really take geometric stuff and like really like push it to its limits. Maybe not the deep like XYZ plane stuff.
Yeah,
I haven't seen people push the grid like that.
Yeah,
you'll see a lot of stuff that I've done like, oh, there's a shape I've done, but you can't trademark shapes, but. Just the way it's a certain feel to it, the way it's laid out, I think. Yeah.
No, I really like. It's just like a thing. Like I think the process that I even do to create some of my tattoos is like so immense that it even makes me tired. Yeah. That I'm like, if someone's gonna go through the steps of like, I'll like get models and then instead of using Photoshop, I'll compile models and then I'll like do things to those models. Then I'll bring them into another program and then create light sources. Yeah. And then after all those light sources are made and I render it on this like high tech computer, I'll bring it into Photoshop and then in Photoshop, I'll like maybe change things with like different kinds of color layers and then add in something else. And it's like that process. I don't believe anyone could literally put that puzzle together.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Everybody has their own little puzzles.
Yeah. And then there's like decisions that I only make while I'm tattooing it because of like my upbringing or whatever,
got your fingerprint.
Yeah. Yep. So it's like for me that like, no one could, like,
well, not no one could, but it's unique enough to where I don't think, no one could, they won't. Cause it's, you know what I mean? It's like,
just like,
not that they,
even if they did, it would be different.
Right. It's always going to be different.
Yeah.
Everybody has their own way they perceive things.
I think that sometimes people just, like we were talking about the ego, they just get caught up in that,
Yeah. That could be,
They're just defensive because they're threatened by losing their job or some kind of sufficiency or not being able to provide for their family or their protection. So whatever, they're just like automatically like, oh, it's threatening,
The AI thing?
Yeah. The AI thing to me, I don't even want to, like sometimes like you said, I ran things through it and like a couple times I ran things through it and I was like, I don't even want to use this fucking thing.
Yeah. I think just being confident in what you're doing and like if someone's trying to copy you or whatever, or like do what you're doing or whatever, like, shouldn't be a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Or just, be uncopyable.
Yeah. That's shoot for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I never worried about that shit. Even if someone worked right next to me, I always used to say that they could open up a shop on the next fucking building.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, like the old school, I'm going to break your hands.
You ain't me. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, I used to get that way when people do stuff that's kind of similar to mine. Like, oh, what are you doing? You're copying me. I'm like, wait, no, they're not. I don't own geometry.
Yeah.
Come on. It's fun. Geometry's fun.
Yeah.
I encourage it. Everybody do geometry.
Yeah, I don't know.
I definitely have had egoic
I still
moments.
think your stuff is on like another plateau. I think it's the circumstances you mentioned before that just
and everybody's life layers a little different, and it's gonna nobody's gonna see that's what's so beautiful about the human race. Nobody's gonna see how the next person sees.
right.
Everybody sees their own
Because
through their own filters and their own perspectives, and
if somebody's trying to make your work, they're literally trying to do it. It's not, and I think it would read inorganic because, you talked about like your accident, your circumstances, being raised with your father, with the...
Guy Aitchison, I always pronounce his name wrong. He told me, I was mimicking Guy hard, like trying to copy.
Did he do your arm?
He did, yeah. It's
I thought that before.
It's all old laser. I get bit by a mosquito there. Mimicking his shit so hard, biting him so hard, like just straight up, just blades and all. Mm-hmm. But I was doing little stuff in it, with it, not even geometry yet at that point. And I gave him my portfolio. I was like, I wanted a critique. And I was like, hey, what do you think? And he's like, well, if you want your shit to look more like mine, if you want your shit to look like mine, then keep, doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
I was like, and at that point, I was right before a car accident. That graffiti guy was coming. It's like, oh, okay. So I started messing around with some different elements, and then boom, that car accident happened. So then I started like taking his stuff and putting geometrical pieces in it and wrapping it with that, and then
so that was like
and
then you just went full on.
Yeah, and then the psychedelics, and then just full on. So, yeah.
Fuck man.
Yeah.
That's cool as fuck. But I don't know. What else? I got to pee. You want to...
Yeah, I got to pee too.
You want to wrap this up?
Sure.
I mean, it was great.
Man.
I don't know. It was like an honor for really...
Thank you.
I was never so excited to have someone come down here. Like I said, you're in my world, you're very revered to me as an artist, and was just super cool. I'm flattered that you came down here,
Thank you
it's
for
like
having me.
for me it like I don't know, validates what I'm doing, like that you would come down here.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
I like it. I like your work.
Thank you. Yeah. To me that means a lot.
Well,
really.
that right off the bat I was like, oh, he's a solid dude.
Yeah.
So
because I was reaching out, I got friends and people I met. When I reached out to you and you said you would come for me, it was like really an honor.
My first podcast.
Yes, hell yeah, man.
I really don't do this. I'm just like, I'm scared,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm, I stutter.
I know you said that.
Talk in circles, and
I think it's been great. And for me, like I said, it's an honor, truly. I don't know how I could say it again, but it is.
Yeah, dude, I appreciate you, man.
Thank
you
you,
so
man.
much. Yep.
Thank you.
Keep killing it.
Yep. Thank you for listening, everyone.
This goes for a long time.
Yeah, it will. And we should do it again when you're back in town.
Yeah,
it would be great.
I'll be glad to.
Now that we have like
maybe I have some new experiences to bring over here.
Maybe we'll do it on psychedelics.
Oh, wow. Let's do it while rolling.
But thank you,
I don't know, bro. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to like shout out your Instagram or whatever for listeners.
Yeah, I have the Instagram, Mechmaster, MECHMASTER _Mike.
Yeah. If you're not already following them, please do yourself a damn favor.
Thank you.
Yep. Sweet.
Yeah, gotta get around those algorithms. Tell your friends.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening, everyone.
Right on.
Later.